I'm a man with great common sense, and I'm a smart person. And when I see what's happening to our cities, and then you send in troops, instead of being praised, they're saying you're trying to take over the republic. These people are sick. But I'm really saying, and I say this to all of you, in a certain way, we should wait to be asked, because they have cities that are so under control, out of control.
Well, the one thing that he does by saying, wait to be invited to the dance is say, okay, I offered help. They turned down my help. So whatever happens in the city of Chicago and Chicagoland more generally, just remember that I offered to intercede on your behalf, and you and your leadership chose to rebuff my offer of resources. As I said yesterday, it's such an odd position, a very Jekyll and Hyde position for the political leadership of the state and the city here to take. On the one hand, we welcome federal law enforcement when it comes to DEA and ATF, and we want to federalize gun crimes. At least some of them suggest they do. Some of them don't want to prosecute any crimes, but some at least mouth the words of wanting to work with the federal government to bring resources to bear. They're always looking for more law enforcement related cash or public safety related cash to be drop shipped from DC to here. So they love those partnerships, but they don't love federal law enforcement in the direction of immigration law. And they don't love federal law enforcement in terms of keeping the peace. As they said, all of these, as was said yesterday in our discussion with Ken Cuccinelli, former deputy at Homeland Security, former Virginia Attorney General, there is a constitutional basis for Trump to activate the National Guard and deploy it to cities not named Washington, D.C., and it relates to the enforcement of federal law, not state laws or city ordinances, but federal law. And so you would rebuke those resources because the optics look bad, even though the underlying logical conclusion would that it would engender less violence on the streets, at least for the finite period that they're there. And maybe that would send a message to those inclined to be repeat violent offenders, to be habitual criminals, that, remember, these resources can be brought to bear, so it's at least some disincentive if they saw federal and state working together. Maybe it would be some incentive for some politicians to break ranks within the new Marxist Party here and say, we need to be a little bit more serious about the law enforcement side of criminal justice here. We can talk about wraparound services, and we can talk about violence interrupters, and we can talk about socioeconomic and cultural matters that relate to the incidence of crime in low opportunity neighborhoods. But at the end of the day, we need to remove habitual criminals from the streets. And when we do that, the law-abiding residents are safer, and that's our preeminent concern. It could go that way. There's an opportunity there if you want to be commonsensical rather than strictly and myopically political. But of course, what are the odds of that? Listen to what BLM Brandon had to say yesterday when it was his turn at the podium. JB and got some of his friends together to have a bitch session over Trump.
We cannot incarcerate our way out of violence. We've already tried that, and we've ended up with the largest prison population in the world without solving the problems of crime and violence. The addiction on jails and incarceration in this country, we have moved past that. It is racist, it is immoral, it is unholy, and it is not the way to drive violence down.
Well, I guess my suggestion, the one I just offered, is going to fall on deaf ears when it comes to BLM Brandon, because jail is racist. He's still the defund, decarceration, non-prosecution, political hack that he was when he was flacking for the teachers union, now that he's flacking for the city from the fifth floor. Same guy. Most of these people are the same people. Defund, non-prosecute, decarcerate. You just heard it. So the occasion to talk about violent crime in Chicago is to offer sort of new Marxist Party plank on decarceration. It's worked so well depopulating Cook County Jail under the stewardship of Tony Preckwinkle. We should do that regionally, statewide, nationally. That's BLM Brandon's message. So as Trump says, why should I help when they don't want my help? And a lot of residents in Chicago have voiced similar sentiments because, of course, they are addled by the same new Marxist Party talking points as their political leadership. But these people at the podium yesterday didn't get there without the support of anyone, right? Coming up at 5:38, we'll take more of your calls on this and also fold in Trump's executive order to be punitive to districts and states that sport cashless bail. That's at 5:38. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It's 56 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. President Trump is ordering the Department of Defense to establish National Guard units that are specifically trained to deal with public order issues. The executive order Monday comes as Trump has floated the idea to use the military to enforce law and order in American cities across the country. He's already done so in Washington, D.C., but as a special district, the rules there are different than what they are in other parts of the country. President Trump is looking to put an end to cashless bail across the country.
The president signed an executive order Monday that threatens to withhold federal funding if cities don't end the practice.
That was when the big crime in this country started.
He also signed a separate order focused on the practice in Washington, D.C. This comes after the White House moved to deploy armed National Guard troops to fight crime in the district. I'm Tammy Trujillo.
President Trump says he's going to put substantial tariffs on countries who do not remove digital taxes. Posting on Truth Social Monday, Trump says he's going to restrict chip exports to those countries as well. Digital taxes are imposed by several countries on companies like Meta, Amazon, and Alphabet. Countries that impose digital taxes argue that companies like Amazon operate within their borders, taking huge profits from citizens while paying nothing to the government. This report is sponsored by Starbucks. The pumpkin spice latte is back at Starbucks, crafted with their signature espresso and real pumpkin sauce, then topped with whipped cream, cinnamon, and nutmeg. The PSL. Get it while it's hot or iced, only at Starbucks. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next.
Town Hall News, where conservative voices cut through the noise from breaking headlines to fearless opinion. We report what matters without apology. Written by people who actually believe what you believe. Town Hall tells the stories the corporate press buries, from President Trump to Capitol Hill, from pivotal elections to your everyday lives. Join the movement at townhall.com. Real stories, real reporters, real conservative media.
Chicago businesses, you can't afford to be down. You don't have time to wait for IT support. You need one company that does IT well and does it right. Meet Access One, your local Chicagoland IT experts. Access One has been powering Chicago businesses with secure, reliable IT solutions for over 30 years from our headquarters right here in the West Loop. Whether it's VoIP phones, dedicated internet, managed cybersecurity, cloud backups, or 24/7 support, Access One is here for you. Chicago-owned, Chicago-run, and serving thousands of companies from Naperville to the North Shore. Access One is the trusted IT partner for law firms, clinics, tech startups to manufacturers. Rated top 5% in customer satisfaction and a Better Business Bureau A+ rated business. Access One is your one vendor for everything tech. Let's talk. Call 800-804-8333 or visit accessoneInc.com. That's accessoneInc.com. Tech made personal, locally.
It's Dr. David Kolbaba.
Hey, let me tell you about our age analysis assessment. It takes just a few seconds to scan for those advanced glycated end products that cause premature aging. And then we'll briefly go over your results and give you a few things for you to do to improve. And then we'll retest you in about 60 days. And you'll pay our special low price for your first assessment, and I'll pay for your second one. That's right, your follow-up age analysis assessment is on me. And we're going to compare your biologic age with with your chronologic age, and then we're going to help you determine if your biologic age is on par with your chronologic age. But you got to make that call today, not tomorrow, but today. It's our Health Quest radio hotline, 800-794-1855. That's 800-794-1855. Second assessment free if you make that call right now. 800-794-1855. It's Health Quest Radio with me, Dr. David Kolbaba, Saturday mornings at 11.
This is Albert Mohler for Townhall.com. Send Harvard's Chinese students home? That's the title of the recent piece at the Wall Street Journal. It ought to have our attention. It comes from Mike Gallagher, former member of Congress and now Chief of Defense for Palantir Technologies. He writes out of a sense of concern for America's national defense. He writes this, quote, President Trump began his second term by picking a fight with an unaccountable leftist dictatorship that is hostile to American values, accustomed to taking advantage of American wealth, is actively abetting genocide in Xinjiang, he says, end quote. He goes on to say, quote, I refer, of course, to Harvard. He goes on to talk about Trump, who, and I now quote, has an uncanny knack for exposing rotten shibboleths, and recent years have seen top universities unmasked as global far-left patronage networks using research as a smokescreen to prevent scrutiny of campus hate as they aid adversaries like China, end quote. Strong words. Words we should consider and heed. I'm Albert Mohler.
Viking, dedicated to creating travel experiences for the thinking person, with programs designed for cultural enrichment on board and on shore. Discover more at Viking.com.
Now, your official weather forecast.
Today will be mostly sunny and pleasant with a high of 74. Tonight, expect clear skies and cooler temperatures with a low of 54. Tomorrow, we'll see sunshine mixed with high clouds, creating a pleasant day with a high of 78. Thursday will bring a mix of clouds and sun, along with a few thunder showers in the early afternoon. Temperatures will reach a high of 73. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here, and President Trump busy yesterday, and the discussions and actions taken as it pertains to public safety in America's big cities, starting in D.C., folding in Chicago. Baltimore has also been invoked. In addition to the discussion about deploying the National Guard, he's added the elimination of cashless bail, or at least punishment for those jurisdictions like Washington, D.C., which is where his attention was focused with this executive order, that directs the Attorney General and the administration to, quote, take appropriate actions which may include federal funding decisions, services, or approvals, as well as actions the Attorney General identifies as necessary and appropriate because of the emergency conditions. Ordering the relevant law enforcement agencies and officials that are members of the D.C. Safe and Beautiful Task Force to work to ensure that arrestees in the District of Columbia are held in federal custody to the fullest extent permissible under applicable law, and to pursue federal charges and pretrial detention for such arrestees wherever possible. This is in response to the fact that under D.C. law, cash bail is effectively outlawed, meaning that the overwhelming majority of individuals arrested and awaiting trial are released back onto the streets, which is the same case in New York City, which is the same case in Chicago, in Cook County, and the entire state of Illinois under the Pritzker Purge Law, the first state to eliminate cash bail statewide. That's Illinois. So as Trump and the administration have talked about with respect to sanctuary cities and sanctuary states, we're talking about the same places all the time. So, I mean, to some extent, these executive orders get redundant. How many times can you defund a sanctuary city and a sanctuary state that also has cashless bail and is turning out repeat violent offenders for pretrial release so they can commit crimes while they're awaiting trial on the previously committed crimes, as we've seen in Chicago? 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro, answer line and text line. I mean, it's something, and it puts, again, a spotlight on cashless bail in addition to sanctuary city and states, in addition to the general deprosecution, decarceration posture of politicians like Brandon Johnson and J.B. Pritzker, both with respect to criminals, domestic as well as foreign. So it's effectively using the bully pulpit to highlight the bad actors and the bad policies that you see repeated across big blue cities in big blue states. So there's utility there. I'm just not sure how much of a cudgel it turns out to be, because what we see yesterday is a good example. They just, whine about money being taken away, or money that they don't have that they should be getting from the federal government, and use that as a crutch to explain away why the city and the region is disintegrating and people are fleeing. It's not our fault. Everything we're doing is working. Things are relatively good. They could be better, but for the federal government's misplaced spending priorities. That's the only thing, the only piece of the puzzle left, because here locally, everything is going along swimmingly. That's what they'd have you believe. And they've got a message for Trump. Jelly Belly delivered it once again.
If you hurt my people, nothing will stop me, not time or political circumstance, from making sure that you face justice under our constitutional rule of law.
You don't hurt my people. No, I mean, unless you're a repeat violent offender in Chicago, then it's okay to hurt my people. Man shot his girlfriend's ex while on felony pretrial release, according to prosecutors. 33-year-old man on felony pretrial release now facing attempted murder charges after shooting his girlfriend's ex-boyfriend on a West Side sidewalk last month. At the time of the shooting, the individual was on pretrial release following an April 12th arrest in Wrigleyville. In that case, police said he punched two men and was found carrying a baggie with 100 suspected oxycodone pills. He also has a 2022 conviction for being a felon in possession of a firearm, for which he received a 30-month prison sentence. He's now charged with attempted murder and aggravated battery. He is the 10th person this year alone charged with shooting, killing, or trying to kill someone in Chicago while on felony pretrial release. Those 10 cases involved 23 victims, 3 of whom died. So those are not the people. Those people you can't hurt. You can hurt people when you're on pretrial release. Those people have license, I guess, immunity to hurt other people, to hurt JB's people. It's a little difficult to discern who JB's people are and who they aren't. It seems to be mainly people who break the law, whether by coming here illegally or by committing illegal acts while here, or both. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro, answer line. Parolee mugged 3 elderly women, groped another victim near West Side School. Man with a long criminal record on parole for attacking a police officer, accused of robbing 3 senior citizens at a CTA station, then groping a woman outside a West Side School. That was last week. When they searched him, they found a person ID belonging to one of 3 women who were robbed at the California Pink Line station about an hour earlier. In that case, 3 women, 2 in their 70s, and another listed as being over 60, said the individual targeted them as they set up a religious magazine display at the station, snatched the magazines from the rack, became aggressive, stole the stand itself, which contained the 77-year-old woman's wallet and another woman's phone, then escaped on a CTA bus. This guy is on parole for aggravated battery of a peace officer. In 2020, he was convicted of conspiracy to commit robbery after an attack on a 54-year-old woman in the 2700 block of West Roosevelt Road. Police said he dragged the woman by the hair, punched her repeatedly in the head, and stole her phone. His other felony convictions in this hit parade include burglary, being a felon in possession of a firearm, and possessing electronic contraband in a penal institution. And this guy's on parole. You should see his mugshot. You should see, and I'll post it on X. You should see his mugshot. He looks like a Muhammad Ali making faces, like doing pre-fight interviews, for the before, like the Thrill in Manila, where he's telling you what he's going to do to Joe Frazier or what he's going to do to George Foreman in big fights. Where he's acting and posturing and trying to whip up attention. But this guy looks like that in a mugshot. A little bit different story. I can only imagine what that parole hearing was like and how well this individual represented himself. But those people, again, those are people that are allowed to hurt people. You hurt my people, nothing will stop me, says the big tough talker, little Spalding. Big tough guy now. Mm-hmm. Rich in Indian Head Park, Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hey, good morning, Dan. How are you this morning?
Good.
There was a stat that I heard that there hasn't been a murder in D.C. in 12 days. Well, they were saying that there was a murder every other day in D.C. Well, don't the people think that this is working? I mean, there hasn't been a murder in 12 days. Yeah. So he's saving lives. So what's so wrong about the National Guard being in D.C.? I don't understand their logic.
Thanks for the call, Rich. He's making them look bad. They don't like it. George, Naperville.
JD's people are people who hurt people.
Okay, George. Phil, Maryville.
Morning. Countries like Singapore have some of the lowest crime rates in the world. I mean, they have the death penalty for drug trafficking. And, all these politicians that say, oh, we tried hard on crime before in the past and it didn't work. Well, actually, they didn't. They would let the people out just the same as they do now. And, Rudy Giuliani, he lowered crime 75% when he was taking that hard stance on crime. And I mean, I say build more jails, give stricter penalties, all that, and people will be committing less of these crimes, especially like with a lot of these robberies from grocery stores and all that. They need to be given a year in jail, and it'll make them think about next time doing that. So, thanks.
Thanks for the call, Phil. The funny thing is, or the funny and ironic in a tragic sense, is that we don't need to build more prisons in Chicago and Cook County, because Cook County Jail is about at a third of capacity. That was purposeful. Toni Preckwinkle and her fellow ideologues is purposeful. They were going to empty the jail regardless of the implications for public safety. So what we really talk about is a small cadre of habitual offenders that are allowed to be habitual offenders under this political leadership. That's really what we're talking about. And by the way, in their Not Horrible series, CWB Chicago, I like this. Not Horrible, talking about cashless bail. Because don't forget, in his infinite wisdom, Cook County Chief Judge Tim Evans was employing the cashless bail program before the Pritzker Purge Law was passed into state law. And when he was asked about the impact in 2019, he said, quote, "We haven't had any horrible incidents occur under his bond reform initiative." I don't know if he really would use the term reform here. We haven't had any horrible incidents occur. So CWB Chicago has this Not Horrible series where they've tracked the number of people who have committed a felony, attempted to kill or killed somebody specifically, while awaiting trial for a felony in Chicago, dating back to 2020. The total number of victims of preventable crimes, had you held these individuals charged with felonies over for trial, rather than allowing them to ROR or with electronic monitoring, maybe not even. 79 in 2020, including 41 murders. 116 in 2021. 110 in 2022, 57 in 2023, 52 in 2024, 23 in 2025. These are all included people who committed a felony while awaiting trial for a felony. The numbers of people who have attempted to kill or killed somebody while waiting for trial for a felony are smaller, but they're included in those numbers. Where you're talking about people that have been victimized, that are victims of violent crimes that were preventable, again, if you just had a reasonable approach to pretrial detention when it comes to people who pose a public safety threat, as evidenced by the crimes they are alleged to have committed. If you hurt my people, okay, Jelly Belly. Greg in Jefferson Park.
Hey, good morning, Dan. You know, you got to send ICE and the National Guard to all these small towns that have been overrun with illegals and criminals. And a week before they come there, send buses to those cities and let them know that, that the boys are on their way, and then bring all those people to Chicago, Illinois, and let Fat Ass and Mayor Black Wife and Kids deal with the consequences of having, say, another 50 to 100,000 people, including, say, another 10,000 kids in CPS. That'll be, another $300 million? I mean, this guy's sitting there whining yesterday. All I hear him say, too, is, we need more money. You took away our money for this. You took away our money for that. We ain't got money for nothing. But they can allow all these criminals, as you're explaining, to do whatever the hell they want. You know what? It's just, it ain't worth saving. Bankrupt them. Have a good day.
All right, Greg. Mike on the south side.
Hey, morning, Dan. This experiment's already been tried in the late 90s where the federal government got involved with local prosecutions. Project Exile in Virginia, they were putting people away for 5 years for violent crimes right off the bat and moving them from their local communities to faraway lands so that they could serve out their time. This day for day on ankle monitoring is crazy. They're getting, every single day they're on ankle monitoring, even though they're out, they're getting times considered served when they plead. So let's go back to that. I mean, it's been tried.
Thanks for the call, Mike. Well, right. And it was resuscitated in part by Bill Barr in Trump's first term. Named after a boy that was murdered. I think it was in North Carolina. I'm blanking on his name. But, yeah, I mean, the whole point about this is, of course, everybody knows what works. Broken windows policing in New York. Project Exile, federal and local, in Virginia. Everybody with any sense knows what you have to do to maintain the peace. It's unfortunate you have to do this. It's unfortunate that we have people without impulse control that want to prey on others, but we do, and adults know what you're supposed to do about them. But unfortunately, we don't have a lot of adults, certainly in public office, and by extension, by reflection, we just don't have very many adults in terms of the quality of their thinking when it comes to the distribution within the electorate, clearly. Otherwise, how would we have people like BLM Brandon and Jelly Belly? BJ and JB. Quite a tandem we've put together. Joe in Naperville.
Yeah, Carolyn Levitt, every single day, should just read stats and label it as Pritzker's murder rate, Pritzker's carjacking rate, and all that. This way it hangs around their neck. But the double-edged sword on this whole thing is, if there's a Republican governor or mayor that has a high crime rate and Trump isn't doing the same thing there to help, that's going to hang bad on Trump's neck.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'm not you're going to have to point to me where there's one of those, because there's no Republican mayor of a city bigger than 250, 300,000 people. So when you look at the top 20 in terms of violent crime, or the top 50 in terms of violent crime on a per capita basis, or just on a gross basis, and it is gross in places like Chicago, you're talking about people not just at present, but you're talking about cities like Chicago that have been dominated by one party and one mentality for generations. 25, 50, 75. In Chicago, nearly 100 years. But I know, as I've said many times, still on their probationary period. Too early to make a call on that. Too early to know whether or not we should chart a different course.
The stories you need to know to start your day. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
Sign up for the AM 560 Answer Advantage to get early alerts on event ticket sales, special discounts, and contest opportunities. Sign up today at 560theanswer.com/advantage.
Business owners, now's the time for your business to make the move to a locally owned business bank. Hi, Mike Gallagher here to let you know that you don't have to look far. Signature Bank was founded in Chicago with a simple mission to help companies like yours grow, succeed, and thrive. Their decisions are made locally by a terrific team that knows your name, cares about your business, and invests in your success. That's why Signature Bank is my bank. I'm a customer. As business owners, they knew that local, family-owned businesses were not getting the help they needed or deserved. So I invite you to reach out to my friends at Signature Bank today. Write the number down. Remember this phone number, Signature Bank, 773-467-5630, and learn all about this great bank, 773-467-5630, or visit them online at signaturebank.bank. That's signaturebank.bank. Signature Bank makes commercial banking personal. Member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Want to see if you could pay less in taxes? Try the quick and easy tax calculator at willsave.com. Yes, a free tax calculator. That's WILSAVE.com. Calculate how you could keep more of your hard-earned money and give less to Uncle Sam, especially in retirement. Get your free tax analysis today at willsave.com. And don't forget to tune in to Protecting Your Assets with Steve Shyman every Saturday morning at 8, right here on AM 560, The Answer.
Gain insight into building strong marriages and raising godly children with Focus on the Family with Jim Daly each weekday at 11:30 a.m. on our sister station, AM 1160. Hope for your life.
At AlmostFreeTeeth.com, they're dedicated to making smiles great again. If you have medical PPO insurance, find out how you could save 90% off on average to get a beautiful dental implant-supported smile. Check if you qualify right now at AlmostFreeTeeth.com.
AM 560, The Answer.
Coming up at 6:06, another cause celeb for the left. And we got a new protest song. The Abrego Garcia rally outside the ICE office in Baltimore. We'll tackle that and talk border security at 6:06. It is now 6 a.m. on AM 560 WIND Chicago.
The Federal Reserve Governor is out. I'm Angelo Bavaro, Fox News. President Donald Trump opening a new front in the fight over America's central bank.
In a letter shared to Truth Social, President Trump says he's removing Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook from her position effective immediately. He cites a criminal referral from Bill Pulte, the director of the Federal Housing Finance Agency, who has claimed Cook falsified bank documents and property records, alleging she claimed two different properties were her primary residences when obtaining mortgages in 2021. In the letter addressed to Cook, the president explains, in light of your deceitful and potentially criminal conduct in a financial matter, I do not have such confidence in your integrity. Cook was appointed by former President Biden and has been serving a term that ends in 2038. Kristen Goodwin, Fox News.
Cook says she will not step down. She's among several senior Fed policymakers who have defied President Trump's calls for interest rate cuts. The Federal Reserve is set up to operate independently to the White House. We've seen President Trump mobilize the power of the National Guard in his plan to cut crime across the country. Well, now he's wielding the power of his pen, signing an executive order targeting cashless bail.
The EO's threatened to revoke federal funding from jurisdictions that allow the practice. Critics of cash bail say it puts an unfair burden on low-income people who can't afford to pay their way out of jail. But the president says the policy allows violent criminals to return to the streets. Meantime, the president's rift with Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker is growing, suggesting he would deploy federal forces to Chicago. Pritzker is firing back. He's warning the president not to send the National Guard to Chicago like he did in D.C., saying the move would be a power grab. For now, though, the president is planning to wait to send in the troops until Pritzker asks him to.
That was Fox's Madeline Rivera. America is listening to Fox News.
Good morning. It's 56 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. State and local leaders are telling President Trump to keep the National Guard out of Chicago. Governor Pritzker says there's no reason for Trump to send troops into the city to fight crime, calling the move unconstitutional and un-American.
This is not about fighting crime. This is not about fighting crime. This is about Donald Trump searching for any justification to deploy the military in a blue city, in a blue state, to try and intimidate his political rivals.
Mayor Johnson asked the Trump administration to provide more funding for violence prevention.
Instead of spending hundreds of millions of dollars for a publicity stunt to invoke chaos and terror, the federal government should spend that money on proven solutions to crime and violence reduction.
Pritzker, Johnson, and State Attorney General Kwame Raoul say that they are all exploring legal options should Trump deploy guardsmen. The fiery speech came the same day Trump appeared to waver on whether he would send federal troops into Chicago, saying he may wait until he gets a request from Pritzker to do so. Another Chicago area university is under investigation over allegations of anti-Semitism on campus. The House Education and Workforce Committee has launched a probe into the University of Illinois College of Medicine. In a letter to the university, the committee says it learned that the Jewish students are experiencing hostility and fear at the institution. The University of Illinois College of Medicine joins DePaul and Northwestern as universities under federal scrutiny over anti-Semitic accusations. News is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Have you been getting high quotes for dental implants? With medical PPO insurance, it's possible to save 90% off on average. See if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com, making smiles great again. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Join John Anthony, host of Black and Right, for a cruise on Lake Michigan, Saturday, September 6th. Come aboard the luxury yacht Free Spirit for a fun afternoon with fellow AM 560 listeners. Enjoy great food and beverages and be a part of the live broadcast of Black and Right with John Anthony. Tickets are on sale now at 560theanswer.com/cruise. That's 560theanswer.com/cruise.
You're great at protecting your own personal information. You probably even use things like two-factor authentication, strong passwords, VPN. But as much as you try to be in control of how your information is protected, there's lots of places that also have it. That's why LifeLock monitors millions of data points every single second for identity threats. If your identity is stolen, a LifeLock specialist is going to help solve the identity theft issues, guaranteed, or your money back. Save up to 40% off your first year with a promo code Beck at LifeLock.com. Terms apply.
Surprise! Your expenses this month were way higher than you expected! Also, you forgot to renew your website domain and now you're in a bidding war!
You should see the look on your face! At Progressive, we know small business owners don't usually like surprises because they cost you money. But a good surprise that could save you money? Getting a commercial auto quote from Progressive.
Plus, the fridge died in the break room and now everything smells weird!
Surprise yourself. See if you can save in as little as 8 minutes at ProgressiveCommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
Did you know that AM 560 Radio has a full-service digital marketing division called Salem Surround? If you're a business decision maker, listen up. AM 560 listeners are everywhere your potential audience is. So are our incredible targeting capabilities. We localize digital marketing and put it within reach of every business, small and large, in Chicagoland and beyond. Salem Surround offers AI-powered marketing solutions that reach your ideal audience. Whether or not you tap into the proven live, local, and emotional connection that AM 560 Radio brings, Salem Surround offers a total marketing solution to our partners. All-in-one digital solutions that provide targeted local digital and social media ads, Google AdWords management, website services, video strategy, search optimization, and even a management dashboard to offer you total campaign updates and transparency. Your Salem Surround representative is located right here in Chicago. Experience the Salem Surround digital revolution today. Call 847-472-8951. That's 847-472-8951.
From the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens, inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, about 18 minutes. Got a crash blocking a left lane that's going to be right between Lake Avenue and before Glenview Road. Going to be a bit slow. On the outbound side, about 14 minutes. On the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Burn interchange, about 13 minutes. Outbound, it's about 14 minutes. On the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 14 minutes. Outbound is about 16 minutes. On the Stevenson inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, 22 minutes. Outbound is about 15 minutes. Traffic is a service of Fox Valley Coins. This is a great time to bring in your scrap gold jewelry and sterling flatware. Cash or check is offered on the spot. FoxValleyCoins.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will be mostly sunny and pleasant with a high of 74. Tonight, expect clear skies and cooler temperatures with a low of 54. Tomorrow will bring sunshine with some high clouds, remaining pleasant with a high of 78. Thursday, we'll see a mix of clouds and sun with a chance of a couple of thunder showers in the early afternoon and a high of 73. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. As we mentioned briefly yesterday, the infamous Maryland man, Abrego Garcia, Kilmar Abrego Garcia, back in the news, had to turn himself in Baltimore, ICE facility there, ICE office there. A federal judge in Maryland has temporarily blocked the Trump administration from attempting to redeport Abrego Garcia. Remember, he was deported to El Salvador, where he's from, but that was ruled a mistake. He didn't receive his proper process to be sent to the mega prison in El Salvador. He returned to the U.S. He's been charged with human smuggling in Tennessee, where he's awaiting trial. The Trump administration has moved to deport him to Uganda. Government lawyers had said in court that if he's released from detention in the U.S., immigration officers would quickly take him into their custody and fly him to any country that has agreed to accept immigrants expelled from the U.S., so long as the country isn't El Salvador. In Maryland, a federal judge blocked that attempted re-deportation. Abrego Garcia excuse me, and friends had a little rally outside that ICE office before the adjudication of his case. And Garcia, the Maryland man, speaking in Maryland's tongue.
Y oraron y nunca dejaron de creer y luchar por mi libertad.
And this is why I want to thank each and every one of you who marched, lift your voices, never stop praying, and continue to fight in my name.
Nothing says Maryland man like someone who doesn't speak English. But we got a new protest song out of it because there were a lot of middle-aged and older honkies there, probably like from Prince George's County and elsewhere. And of course, they have nothing to do other than rally for the international gangbanger du jour. Make sure that he doesn't get treated in any untoward fashion by the Trump administration or law enforcement in general. And so here's a little part of that ditty, the Gilmar Abrego Garcia protest song. You sing along if you'd like.
Kilmar is our neighbor. You can't have him, Trump. No! Kilmar is our neighbor.
You can have him, Trump. Come on, Gilmar is our neighbor. You can have him. No? 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. Now, just on the flip side, to complicate this picture a little bit, something else that Trump mentioned as it pertains to one of the issues associated with immigration to this country, Chinese nationals that are coming here to go to college. It's particularly poignant for universities like University of Illinois, where you have Chinese nationals displacing Illinois families, whose kids want to go to U of I, sort of violating the strictures of the agreement that U of I has with the people of Illinois as a land-grant university that's supported with about $700 million a year in state taxpayer funds. And a quarter of the student body, undergrad student body at U of I, is Chinese nationals because they pay full freight. And, the issue, of course, is that nobody gets out of China without the high sign from President Xi and that CCP Politburo. And so it's mostly the kids of CCP, high-ranking CCP officials that get access to American universities, get the green light to leave if they can get a visa, student visa, to attend U of I or other colleges in America. So this has drawn some criticism of Trump from erstwhile Trump supporters, something that he said yesterday about Chinese nationals coming here to do their undergraduate or postgraduate work.
President Xi would like me to come to China. It's a very important relationship. As you know, we're taking a lot of money in from China because of the tariffs and the different things. And it's a very important relationship. We're going to get along good with China. I hear so many stories about we're not going to allow their students. We're going to allow their students to come in. We're going to allow, it's very important, 600,000 students. It's very important. But we're going to get along with China. But it's a different relationship that we have now with China. It's a much better relationship economically than it was before. With Biden, boy, what he allowed they just took him to the cleaners,
Yeah, 600,000 Chinese nationals will be allowed to come here and matriculate at America's colleges and universities. That is a fairly significant reversal of approach, considering a May 28th press statement from Marco Rubio. New visa policies put America first, not China. Under President Trump's leadership, the U.S. State Department will work with the Department of Homeland Security to aggressively revoke visas for Chinese students, including those with connections to the Chinese Communist Party or studying in critical fields. We will also revise visa criteria to enhance scrutiny of all future visa applications from the People's Republic of China and Hong Kong. And now it's a magical 600,000 person quota for Chinese nationals to come here and, as I said, do their undergraduate or postgraduate work at America's colleges and universities. Part of, I guess, this ongoing negotiation as to the trade relationship between China and the United States. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. So we're seeing a lot of good movement on enforcement, protection at the border, actual security at the border, enforcement of immigration laws as it pertains to people in this country illegally, particularly those who pose public safety threats. But at the same time, there are these other issues to tackle when it comes to America's workforce, the self-deportation of people in this country who may have been otherwise productive but still were here illegally. And, how do you cobble together a cohesive immigration regime legally that respects U.S. citizens but provides the sort of opportunities for people to emigrate to this country temporarily or permanently that benefits those same U.S. citizens in terms of attracting talent and people that are strivers and so forth. I think this is what the Trump administration has been wrestling with for, much of his time in office, first term and this one, because you've had such devastation wrought on the country by the open borders policies of the left. You have to sort of at the same time address all of the horrors that have been unleashed because of those open border policies, because of the antagonism towards ICE and CBP. I mean, we're not that far removed from, defunding ICE and calling them Gestapo. Well, we're not far removed at all. They're doing it again, but they did in the first term too. We're not that far removed from calls to actually literally defund law enforcement that relates to border security. So it's a problem, but when you do it in an ad hoc way that Trump is doing it with this sort of off-the-cuff mention, 600,000 Chinese nationals are going to be able to go to school here. It doesn't inspire confidence that this has been well thought out, that we're making particularly strategic decisions that complement one another in the direct when it pertains to legal immigration. We're taking a hard line at the end of May with respect to Chinese nationals coming here to be educated, and then a couple of months later we're saying the opposite. Corey Woodlawn, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hey, thanks for taking the call, Dan. We haven't had a chance to assimilate the ones that we have. In the Bible, when God wanted to confuse the people, he just made them all speak different languages. And that confused the hell out of them. Why would we, invite that into the United States of America? It just doesn't make any sense. We don't share anything in common with most of these people. We don't even share the same sports. I mean, this is getting out of hand.
Yeah, thanks for the call, Corey. I mean, the assimilation piece is an important one. And I don't just mean because Abrego Garcia doesn't speak English, for example, but certainly that's included when I go back to the Indian national who was here illegally, who has been charged with 3 counts of vehicular manslaughter for that illegal U-turn on the Florida Turnpike that resulted in the death of 3 people. And what we found out subsequently about his knowledge of traffic signs and traffic laws, he identified like 2 out of 12 traffic signals on testing to get his CDL license. Yeah, that's a problem. It's a problem if you don't understand the topography and the community in which you live or the country in which you live. You can't communicate. You can't get around. Or at least not safely. I mean, you just haven't, as Corey said, been assimilated. And to some extent, because of identitarian politics on the left, there's a real opposition to assimilation. There's a real separatism. I mean, we see this in Somalia. We see this with the Somalis in Minneapolis, which is quickly becoming Mogadishu, Minnesota. The separatist populations, we just want to congregate amongst ourselves. It's intentional. You're talking about some places that are not far away from some of the more infamous no-go zones in Western cities and in big cities in Western Europe. That's a problem. And it's happening in Chicagoland too. It's happening in Chicagoland with elements of the Muslim population here. And all you have to do is talk to somebody who lives in Lombard or Glen Ellen. Yeah, no, I didn't say Bridgeview. I didn't even say, sort of Orland Park, which is also happening there. In the western suburbs too. And again, I'm not judging by a group. You make individual decisions with respect to people that are allowed to emigrate to this country individually. You assess people individually. I have no problem with peaceful pluralist Muslims who want to assimilate. I have no problem, that with, Christians from Africa who want to assimilate. It's not about that. It's about the last piece of it, assimilate. That's not the sort of rhetoric we're hearing in a lot of quarters. I mean, This is Jacob Fry, fresh off trying to derail the candidacy of Omar Fattah, who is fully aligned with Ilhan Omar. But you think, Jacob Fry versus Omar Fattah, there's a difference there. There's not a difference, other than one is of Somali heritage, and the other is not. But they're playing the same separatist identitarian politics. So Fry, because the Marxists can't even run an honest election amongst themselves, gets the DFL, the farmer labor Marxists up in Minnesota, to rescind their endorsement of Fattah so that I guess maybe he can retain his seat, Jacob Fry, who knelt before George Floyd's coffin and wept, right? Complete identitarian sycophant. This was him recently at a rally for Somali independence, the independence of Somalis within Ethiopia, as I understand it. This is in Minneapolis.
Ogadenya Harolato! Ogadenya Harolato! Mahat Senate Magayegawa Jacob Fry Yarub Doka Magalada, Minneapolis.
He's learned just enough Somali to be dangerous. 312-642-5600, turnkey.provincial line. There's a guy named Abdul El Sayed who's running for the Democrat Party's nomination for U.S. Senate in Michigan.
We need Democrats who have the courage to stand up to the power brokers in our own party, let alone Trump and his goons. We don't back down. We don't back down. We don't back down. With all due respect, if they go low, we don't go high. We take them to the mud and choke them out.
At least he was speaking English, I guess. Bill on the Northwest side.
Yeah, Dan, I just wanted to get your thoughts on this. Aren't you getting a little bit tired of the president referring to President Xi as his good friend? This is his good friend that unleashed COVID-19 on us, who's building up his military to take Taiwan, would do everything in his power to destroy us economically. I mean, doesn't that just show weakness? I mean, he might be trying to show respect, but that everyone knows that, you know what I mean. It's a little ridiculous, isn't it?
It's not my cup of tea. Thanks for the call, Bill. I've learned to accept that President Trump uses excessive and I would say misplaced flattery in the direction of people like Xi or even Putin as the means to open the lines of communication, as a way to, he thinks, I believe, to get what he wants that's in the interests of America. So it's not my approach. It wouldn't be my approach. I'm more of a Ronald Reagan evil empire kind of guy. Although, Reagan was perfectly cordial with Gorbachev, too. I think he was less effusive publicly about communist dictators than Trump is wont to be. But I think that's just Trump's style, is to be, almost obsequious is too strong, but like I said, excessively flattering and sort of glossing over the fact that this is a bad guy. This is a guy who has put Uyghur Muslims in concentration camps. Xi is as much a killer as Putin is. And as you said, unleash COVID. We've never gotten a reckoning for that. Can't even get a reckoning for COVID with respect to Chinese communist dictators, much less all of the COVIDian nitwits in our country. Yeah, it's a good point. So, again, not my style, but I also don't believe that Trump is an agent of anybody. I don't think it indicates that he is inclined to capitulate and compromise America's interests. I think that he believes this is just the way he does it, the way he does business, if you will. and gets what he wants. And I think he thinks this is the path to get the best deal he can get with Xi. That's the path to get the negotiations started to try to end the war in Eastern Europe between Russia and Ukraine. And, and again, to his credit, he has achieved a lot. He has advanced the flag of peace in a lot of theaters around the world by being who he is. So it may not be pleasant to the ears, but there is a substantial body of evidence that he's been effective. So that has to be acknowledged too. Jamie, Southside.
Hey, Dan, how's it going? Good morning once again. I just want to put this out there. I know that, I don't have a voice to speak to the president, but as a resident of Illinois, as a resident of Chicago, I want them to come and help us out. I want them to come and send the National Guard and to do something about the crime in Illinois. I have family members that have been victims of crime. I've been a victim of crime myself. I can see that this stuff is moving out of the city. It's in Countryside. It's in Western Springs. There was a kid shot in Countryside a couple months ago, and it's just insane. I mean, these people act like nothing is wrong. They act like everything is fine. I mean, Brandon Johnson and Fatboy Jelly Belly come and tell everybody that we don't want them. We don't want the National Guard here. No, we do want the National Guard here. These people don't speak for us.
Jamie, I don't know how to break it to you, but take a listen, because you just made the list.
Finally, to the Trump administration officials who are complicit in this scheme, to the public servants who have forsaken their oath to the Constitution to serve the petty whims of an arrogant little man, to any federal official who would come to Chicago and try to incite my people into violence as a pretext for something darker and more dangerous, we are watching. And we are taking names.
Your name just made the list, Jamie.
Hey, that's fine. I'm not afraid of anybody. I'm going to stand up for what's right. I'm going to stand up for the people that actually, support the law and support law enforcement. And I just want to tell everybody in Chicago that's listening, I really hope everybody has a good day. Just be positive and just, we'll get through this. We just have to fight and, keep up the good fight.
All right. Thanks, Jamie. Appreciate it. Jay in Lowell, Indiana.
Yeah, hi. With what's going on in Michigan and Minnesota, remember the movie Red Dawn with Patrick Swayze?
Mm-hmm.
It's happening right in front of us as we speak.
Yeah, there's no right. Thanks for the call. Although in this instance, in terms of life versus art, nobody had to parachute in with a surprise attack a la Red Dawn. They were all invited in to Minneapolis and Dearborn and Hamtramck and elsewhere.
The more you listen, the more you'll know. This is Chicago's Morning Answer. Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Making the switch to a new communications and IT company may seem like a big ordeal, but if you're not getting the reliable support, consistent internet, and secure solutions your company needs, meet Access One, your local Chicagoland IT experts. Access One has been powering Chicago businesses with secure, reliable IT solutions for over 30 years from our headquarters right here in the West Loop. Whether it's VoIP phones, dedicated internet, managed cybersecurity, cloud backups, or 24/7 support, Access One is here for you. Serving thousands of companies from Naperville to the North Shore, Access One is Chicago-owned and Chicago-run, a trusted IT partner for law firms, clinics, tech startups to manufacturers. We'll make the switch easier than you think. Let's talk. Call 800-804-8333 or visit accessoneInc.com. Rated top 5% in customer satisfaction and a Better Business Bureau A+ rated business. That's accessoneInc.com. Tech made personal locally.
Are you turning 65 and thinking about Medicare? Or are you over 65 and haven't enrolled yet because you still have coverage at work? Either way, Medicare done correctly will be the best health insurance you will ever have. Imagine having an annual deductible of only $257. There are only two good things about aging, wisdom and Medicare. But to navigate the Medicare maze properly, you need a mentor. Best part? My guidance costs you nothing. Call me. I can help.
If you're tired of calling a bureaucrat at an 800 number to help you navigate Medicare, then you need a local expert on your side. Your own health insurance mentor. C. Stephen Tucker from healthinsurancementors.com is someone I know and trust. He's a 30-year licensed broker who's been educating our listeners for more than a decade. Steve, how can our listeners get in touch with you?
Thanks, Dan. They can visit healthinsurancementors.com or call me directly at 630-674-1551. That's 630-674-1551.
AM 560, The Answer.
Coming up at 6:36, we'll lighten it up a little bit, turn our attention to the ongoing meltdown over the Cracker Barrel rebrand. Maybe they need to hire Dylan Mulvaney as a spokesmodel. That's at 6:36. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It's 56 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. The Republican-led House Oversight Committee is issuing a new subpoena for documents held by the estate of late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein.
The committee is moving ahead with its probe into the disgraced financier with a request for his will, any documents resembling a client list, any black books containing Epstein's contacts, flight logs, and an alleged book of birthday letters from Epstein's friends. According to a letter from committee chair James Comer, the Epstein estate is ready and willing to provide these documents. I'm Brian Shook.
There might be a connection between popular weight loss drugs and a reduced cancer risk.
A study published in JAMA Oncology over the use of GLP-1 drugs like Ozempic and Wegovy showed the risk for overall cancer dropped 17%. In fact, the risk of some cancers dropped even more, with the risk of ovarian cancer going down 47%. Researchers made clear the study does not distinguish if the reduced risk was due to the drug or the actual weight loss. I'm Tammy Trujillo.
And President Trump says he will fire Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook from her position. Trump said on Truth Social there is sufficient reason to believe Cook made false statements on one or more mortgage agreements. Cook said in a statement last week that she had no interest of being bullied to step down. News is a service of Anthony DeGrotto, your local State Farm agent. Combine your home, auto, and life insurance. Anthony DeGrotto and his team will do the work for you. Visit DeGrottoSF.com. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Town Hall News, where conservative voices cut through the noise from breaking headlines to fearless opinion. We report what matters without apology. Written by people who actually believe what you believe. Town Hall tells the stories the corporate press buries, from President Trump to Capitol Hill, from pivotal elections to your everyday lives. Join the movement at townhall.com. Real stories, real reporters, real conservative media.
Chicagoland traffic. The Ike, the Stevenson, the dreaded 294. You sitting in traffic is not time well spent. Time is money.
Oh, come on, man. What's the slowdown for?
Especially when you're trying to do your own company deliveries.
What is happening up there? I got things to deliver.
But instead of sitting there getting more and more frustrated,
please, can we go any slower?
You could be back at the shop getting work done.
I should have stayed at work and actually worked.
Get Quick Delivery Service to battle the traffic for you. They'll make your deliveries while you get other things done. Quick Delivery Service makes it easy. No forms, no labels, no scanning. They'll deliver large pallets of materials to important documents. Simply tell Quick Delivery Service where it's going. They'll pick it up and get it to your destination quickly. Plus, your deliveries are tracked with real-time GPS notifications. Visit quickdelivery.com and stay out of traffic.
Oh no, this exit's closed?
Call now for a free quote. 847-534-2244 or go to quickdelivery.com.
Do you owe $10,000 or more in credit card debt or personal loans? With credit card debt at all-time highs, Debt Relief Advocates is urgently notifying consumers of debt relief now being made available, designed to aid consumers with out-of-control credit card debt. Those who qualify and enroll for this relief program will only have to pay back a fraction of what they owe. This is not bankruptcy or a debt consolidation loan. This is a relief program that credit card companies would rather you not know about, as it ends your debt nightmare and and saves you lots of money. Consumers owing at least $10,000 in credit card debt or personal loans can now take advantage of this debt relief as the cost of living skyrockets. Debt Relief Advocates has established a relief hotline for you to call to learn what debt reduction you may qualify for. For this free information, call 800-422-1609. 800-422-1609. 800-422-1609. Or simply visit godra.com.
Rick Borick talks about the risk of being in the stock market right near retirement.
It's easy to drive around with no seatbelt on if you never think you're going to have an accident, right? And you go, well, it's never going to go down. I don't need protection for my portfolio. We're a big fan of getting those gains, but we're also a bigger fan of not taking huge losses.
Unleash your wealth, Saturday at 7 a.m. and 2 p.m. on AM 560, The Answer.
Is cremation an option you're considering for you or your loved one? At Catholic Cemeteries, we offer sacred, permanent places of rest where loved ones can be remembered, prayed for, and visited for generations. Too often, cremated remains are brought home, only to end up in closets, basements, or forgotten on shelves. Memorialization is forever. Honor their life. Preserve your legacy. Visit us today at CatholicCemeteryChicago.org to schedule a free consultation or call 708-236-5490.
Viking, dedicated to creating travel experiences for the thinking person, with programs designed for cultural enrichment on board and on shore. Discover more at Viking.com.
From the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 20 minutes. Accident left lanes blocked. Going to be slow between Skokie and before Glenview Road. Outbound, it's about 13 minutes. On the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Byrne Interchange, 14 minutes. Outbound, about 13 minutes. That's due to a crash. Right lanes blocked between the Byrne Interchange and Lake Street. On the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, about 15 minutes. Outbound is about 14 minutes. On the Stevenson inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, 21 minutes. Outbound is 15 minutes. This report is sponsored by Starbucks. The pumpkin spice latte is back at Starbucks, crafted with their signature espresso and real pumpkin sauce, then topped with whipped cream, cinnamon, and nutmeg. The PSL. Get it while it's hot or iced, only at Starbucks. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will be mostly sunny and pleasant with a high of 74. Tonight, expect clear skies and cooler temperatures with a low of 54. Tomorrow, we'll see sunshine mixed with high clouds, creating a pleasant day with a high of 78. Thursday will bring a mix of clouds and sun, along with a few thunder showers in the early afternoon. Temperatures will reach a high of 73. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Goldilocks, offering smart security systems to homes and businesses. Call Goldilocks at 708-889-5600.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. The controversy over the Cracker Barrel rebrand and all of the critical commentary coming from loyal Cracker Barrel customers. Pretty interesting corporate case study. Bud Light Redux in some respects. This was the Chief Marketing Officer, Sarah Moore of Cracker Barrel, back in May, talking about the forthcoming rebrand.
It's all about evolution with intentionality. We've been very transparent about our goal of making our stores feel brighter and even more welcoming than they already are, while maintaining that country hospitality and charm that we're known for. We're just looking at ways to freshen up the experience so that we can open our door a bit wider for more guests. And when we think about what we're trying to do, it really is, again, about listening to what the guests ask for, and what the guests, and examples of what the guests ask for are things like spaces that feel brighter, that feel less cluttered, more booth seating, more seating options, so our guests are more comfortable while they're dining with us.
Mm-hmm. Gosh, I could listen to these corporate types talk all day long when they string together phraseology like the evolution of the brand with intentionality and complete transparency in furtherance of the preferences of our guests. Man, they are just it is listening to a humanoid that has just been pre-programmed with corporate speak. And of course, we played Julie Fels-Messino's star turn on GMA last week in response to some rumblings that all of that intentionality wasn't meeting with support from their recurring guests. Messino with, probing interview by Michael Strahan. This is what she offered.
Honestly, the feedback's been overwhelmingly positive that people like what we're doing. I'll give you another soundbite. I actually happened to be in Orlando last week with all of our managers. We bring them together and once every other year. And the number one question that I got asked, Michael, was, how can I get a remodel? When can I get a remodel? How do I get on the list?
Oh, really?
So because the feedback and the buzz is so good, not only from our customers, but from our team members. They want to work in a wonderful restaurant. So we're doing everything for our guests and our team members.
Well, Julie Messino, it's wonderful to have you here.
Pleasure to be here.
Thank you for answering those questions for all the Cracker Barrel fans out there. There's a lot of great changes.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Robin?
Can I get in writing that the peg game is going to stay?
The peg game is staying.
Okay.
So are the rocking chairs, fireplace, vintage decor. It's all there.
All right. Okay, because that would be a deal breaker. That would be a deal breaker.
Good times. She should have listened a little bit more closely to Robin Roberts, because that's not the feel I'm getting from reading the feedback from Cracker Barrel loyalists. If you are such a person and you've experienced the rebrand, other than the logo, the rebrand of the actual restaurants, please do give us a call. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro line, or you can give us a text at the same number. Carol Roth, our friend Carol Roth, has a good piece over at Fox News on the rebrand. She writes, the dark nostalgic feel has been replaced with a sterile renovation inside the remodeled locations. The knickknacks have gone from quirky kitsch from yesteryear to something you might see in a suburban craft store. And, of course, the cracker and the barrel are gone in terms of the icon. She writes, Cracker Barrel is just the latest in a string of companies, including Jaguar more recently, and even Coca-Cola in the mid-'80s with its new Coke rollout, to violate the critical principle of making sure that you do not alienate your loyal customer base. I wear many hats in business, writes Carol Roth, and have more than 20 years of experience as an advocate for loyal customers and clients in businesses, working as an outsourced chief customer officer function and sharing my proprietary customer loyalty models via speeches and consulting with both the biggest companies in the world and a variety of small and mid-sized businesses. And I firmly believe that one of the company's most important assets isn't listed on its balance sheet. It's the company's loyal customers, because loyal customers are easy to sell more to, both in frequency of purchases and upsells, because they already love your business, and I've often given you permission to communicate with them and build a relationship. They're excellent advocates for generating new business via their own advertising efforts, word of mouth, posts on social media, and so forth. While it is a challenge for companies to continually grow, and publicly traded companies are under even more pressure to do so, mathematically, growth becomes harder if you're losing customers from your key customer base. And if you make customers believe you do not care about them and their relationship with your brand and company, it's going to be very difficult for you to be successful in your business. New customers should never be treated better or given more weight than existing loyal customers. And she basically said, in terms of the Cracker Barrel remodel that everybody is lining up for, according to the CEO there. I've received thousands of interactions, per her commentary on this. The majority of comments come from longtime customers expressing their displeasure at the changes. One other comment she stood out one of the comments stood out to her, writes Carol Roth. The poster said, "I don't eat there, but it looks nice to me." And that's the crux of the issue. The poster is not a customer, and based on the comment, is not likely to be a customer. So seeking her approval is not a revenue-enhancing win for the company. Maybe it gets some return on ego points for the marketing team, but it doesn't get return on investment for shareholders. The loyalists don't like it, and people who haven't eaten there say, "Oh, it looks like a nice place to eat." Yeah, okay. Well, you destroyed your base. It's like we're going to alienate people we have to try to get people we're not capable of getting. I know about this model, not in a corporate setting like Carol Roth, but that's what the Illinois Republican Party did over the last 25 years here, which is why it no longer exists. And that may be the way Cracker Barrel is going, too. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. Now, this woman who posted on it is just a little bit over the top in her affinity for Cracker Barrel, but it speaks to the point that Carol Roth is making. You develop these relationships with people, develop relationships with businesses they routinely patronize, and when there is a change they don't like, it hits home. It certainly did for this Cracker Barrel aficionado.
In front of Cracker Barrel right now, like a crazy person, because I saw they were rebranding, and Cracker Barrel is like my childhood. Any spring break, we would always go with my grandparents. And I heard today that the peg games, they've changed and they don't have the original rules on them anymore. And this game was like the core memory of Cracker Barrel. And so I came to my closest one in Hilliard, Ohio, and I asked them if they had any. They had only gotten the new games with the new rules, and so I asked the manager. I just explained to him like how much this stupid little game meant to me, and he found me an original one with the original rules, and I just want to say thank you. I ran out because I was crying, and I'm still crying because it just means so much to me, and just thank you.
Okay, well, I mean, in the interest of full disclosure, I did shed a tear when Merle's Rib Palace in Evanston closed. So, I mean, I understand the deep feelings. There's something else, though, about this rebrand. You know, because I didn't know, I hadn't really paid much attention to Cracker Barrel and sort of the corporate landscape of playing all of the identitarian political games. But just the way that the leadership of Cracker Barrel, particularly that Julie Messina, talks, I'm like, this sounds like, you know, Bud Light Redux, maybe in a less, pointedly offensive way, but it sounds like somebody coming from that same place. You know, the DEI, ESG type of corporate hack. And then Robbie Starbuck provided the receipts. Robbie Starbuck, who's sort of made a brand online of exposing companies that are engaged in some of the most noxious DEI and ESG practices. Cracker Barrel has gone fully woke. It's time to expose everything. Here's some highlights you need to know. Cracker Barrel has funded all-age Pride events for many years, like Nashville Pride and Third River City Pride. Cracker Barrel worked with the far-left human rights organization, which is a LGBTQIA plus radical left org. So, I mean, working with Human Rights Campaign, as a lot of corporations did to get their approval, you know, sort of like... Basically, it's like it's almost like an extortion racket, to some extent going in both directions. Cracker Barrel worked with the far-left Human Rights Campaign, reportedly sponsored human rights events for 10 years. They even brought the Human Rights Campaign representative to their Tennessee HQ to do a pronoun and transgender training. We've included photos of this. He's got a video on this, too, where photos are included. And so, you know, HRC supports the full panoply of radical left, gender bending, identitarian silliness. Cracker Barrel worked with a group called Conexión Americas as part of their DEI efforts. The group helps illegal immigrants providing them lawyers. The executive director opposes President Trump's deportations. Sponsored the Out and Equal LGBTQ Workplace Advocate Conference, presented a workshop on how Cracker Barrel has made progress supporting LGBTQIA2S++ causes. Cracker Barrel was awarded Out and Equal's 2018 Top LGBT ERG Group and won the Nashville LGBT Chamber of Commerce Corporate Diversity Award. Created a special diverse suppliers program focused on increasing diversity among suppliers. You know what that means. No honkies. Had coming out day pamphlets passed out at their Tennessee headquarters, as well as pamphlets supporting LGBTQ youth, creating safe zones free from heterosexist or cis-word gendered comments and actions. What the? Good grief. Multiple DEI-focused employees, DEI roundtables, pride flags at the corporate office, promoted the Stonewall riot to employees and on their website, despite the fact that the Stonewall Inn was reportedly owned by the mafia, rife with drug dealing and prostitution. But anyway, I mean, it just goes on and on. So you start to get the picture of what you're dealing with. And that's sort of the vibe I got from Messina, but it's nice that Robbie Starbuck had the receipts. By the way, I know this was going well and everybody can't wait for the redo, but Cracker Barrel has now issued a statement in response to all of the less than positive reactions from that loyal customer base that Carol Roth wrote about. A promise to our guests. In the last few, if the last few days have shown us anything, it's how deeply people care about Cracker Barrel. We're truly grateful for your heartfelt voices. You've shown us that we could have done a better job sharing who we are and who we'll always be. Yeah, we didn't share enough. That's the Cracker Barrel you'll always find. The things people love most about our stores aren't going anywhere. Rocking chairs on the porch, a warm fire in the hearth, peg games on the table, unique features in our gift shop, and vintage Americana with antiques pulled straight from our warehouse in Lebanon, Tennessee. We love seeing how much you care about our old-timer. We love him, too. Uncle Herschel, I didn't know that was his name, will still be on our menu. Welcome back, Uncle Herschel's favorite breakfast platter. On our road signs and featured in our country store. He's not going anywhere. He's family. While our logo and remodels may be making headlines, our biggest focus is still right where it belongs, in the kitchen and on your plate, serving generous portions of food you crave at fair prices and doing it with the kind of country hospitality that brightens your day and creates lasting memories. You know what this is like? This is like when a politician goes, and I've seen it a lot, and I know the difference because I didn't do it. This is like when a politician from Chicagoland is running statewide and goes down to central or southern Illinois in, like, you know, a rural area, like a farming community, and pretends to be a farmer. That's what the corporate types at Cracker Barrel are right now doing. They're pretending to be, you know, we're fully aligned with you and your yearning for Americana and the iconography of Cracker Barrel. Uncle Herschel's our BFF too. It's the whole pantomiming something you're not. And that lack of authenticity, I think that's what will be transparent among the Cracker Barrel loyalists, it seems to me. Already is. Mike and Dixon, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Yeah, you know, Dan, what I wanted to say, you're hitting the nail right on the head, because when the news came out last week about Cracker Barrel's rebrand, it was because basically their sales were slumping. But when you did a deeper dive, you find out that their sales have been declining for at least 10 to 15 years, and it coincides with their DEI embrace and the LGBTQ embrace, which, you know, even if just 10 or 15% of your customers are paying attention and they know you're doing that, especially the conservative ones, they're going to leave, because we don't go for that. I don't care about your sexuality. I don't want you to hire on sexuality or DEI. And so I won't go there. But thanks for really bringing out the truth. And so they're doubling down now, and they're going to rebrand, but now everything's been exposed.
Yeah.
Before, maybe 10 or 2, you know what I mean? So
yeah,
it's going to hurt them even more.
Right, and now they're trying to bail water, and they're patronizing their patrons, and that's not going to go well either. Thanks, Mike.
It's like a hot, steaming cup of information to start your day. It's Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Want to see if you could pay less in taxes? Try the quick and easy tax calculator at willsave.com. Yes, a free tax calculator. That's WILSAVE.com. Calculate how you could keep more of your hard-earned money and give less to Uncle Sam, especially in retirement. Get your free tax analysis today at willsave.com. And don't forget to tune in to Protecting Your Assets with Steve Shyman every Saturday morning at 8, right here on AM 560, The Answer.
AM 560, The Answer.
That sound means it's time for our weekly installment of In-Depth History with Frank, the history teacher from Arlington Heights, because there's nothing new in this world, just the history you don't know. And Frank does. Frank, take it away.
Good morning. In 1356, the imperial diet at Metz issued the Golden Bull. This decree streamlined the election of the Holy Roman Emperor to involve only 7 electors rather than the entire nobility. Specifically, these 7 were the archbishops of Mainz, Cologne, and Trier, the Duke of Saxony, the King of Bohemia, the Margrave of Brandenburg, and my personal favorite, the Count Palatine of the Rhine. This system lasted until 1806, when Napoleon dismantled the by then rickety Holy Roman Empire. Now, Napoleon did a lot of good for France domestically by creating a uniform legal code, eliminating tax farm methods, and improving both the bureaucracy and education. But France's prime foreign policy objective since Cardinal Richelieu in the 1630s had been to keep the German states separated. So Napoleon's move here started a long series of events that eventually led to the strengthening of the only power that could actually unite the German states, as it did in 1871, Prussia. Now, while we look back on the expansion of NATO in the late 90s and early 2000s as a similar mistake to Napoleon's blunders, especially if China becomes the global hegemon while we dither in Ukraine, many so-called analysts seem to discount the Russian army's abilities because it hasn't broken through yet. But can Putin actually go all out without risking a serious escalation? He is in a precarious position where he must defend his country from neocon machinations through what has been so far rather limited aggression. And I will say he didn't look rather intimidating in Alaska. To me, he looked old and exhausted. Thomas Hobbes, author of Leviathan, once said, "Hell is truth seen too late." It's high time for the now tragic antihero Volodymyr to make peace through territorial concessions on what was always an ethnically incongruent map that was made in what were incoherent times after the fall of the Soviet Union.
Very good, Frank. By the way, interestingly, Count Palatine was my stage name when I was dancing my way through law school. Did you know that?
I have to tell you, I did not know that. That's interesting because, when I was in college, I had a lady friend who once asked me about, in our history class, what period of time I'd like to go back to. And I think it was after I saw Unforgiven, so I said the Old West. And she said ancient Egypt. You know what I'd say now? I want to go back and be the Count Palatine of the Rhine.
Count Palatine of the Rhine. Who wouldn't be? Yeah, very good. And so, okay, so you're not taking the cue from the D.C. press corps and that any territorial concession to Putin is a dangerous precedent that the West can't set.
Well, look at the last time they created a map, these globalists, these Wilsonians, 1919. That created a big, monstrous mess called World War II eventually. Okay, look what happened with the Middle East, with Iraq and Kuwait. These guys don't know how to make maps. They don't. And they don't seem to care about the people who live there. Ukraine is it got attacked. I understand, but we need world peace. This has gone on way too long. Too many people are dying. I'm totally with Trump on this.
Frank, thank you so much. It is now 7 a.m. on AM 560 WIND Chicago.
Reserve governor removed. Gianna Gelosi, Fox News. President Trump opening a new front in the fight against America's central bank.
In a letter shared to Truth Social, President Trump says he's removing Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook from her position effective immediately. He cites a criminal referral from Bill Pulte, the director of the Federal Housing Finance Agency, who has claimed Cook falsified bank documents and property records, alleging she claimed 2 different properties were her primary residences when obtaining mortgages in 2021. In the letter addressed to Cook, the president explains, in light of your deceitful and potentially criminal conduct in a financial matter, I do not have such confidence in your integrity. Cook was appointed by former President Biden and has been serving a term that ends in 2038. Kristen Goodwin, Fox News.
Now, Cook says she will not step down. In just a few hours, President Trump will be holding a cabinet meeting in Washington, D.C. as he looks to continue his crime crackdown. A new report from the Washington Post says the Defense Department is drafting plans for deployment of National Guard troops to other cities.
Next on the list could be Chicago, whose mayor is unimpressed by the Capitol crime crackdown.
The president has spent hundreds of millions of dollars to arrest 9 people in D.C.
The president was quick to correct Mayor Johnson.
9 people. We didn't arrest 9 people. We actually arrested a total of well over 1,000 people.
But President Trump plans to wait to send in the troops until Illinois Democratic Governor J.B. Pritzker asks him to. Pritzker responded,
Mr. President, do not come to Chicago.
President Trump also has Maryland Democratic Governor Wes Moore saying, LOL, and keep telling yourself that, Mr. President, after the latest claim in a days-long back and forth about crime in Baltimore.
That's Fox's Peter Doocy at the White House. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker says crime is falling in his city. America's listening to Fox News.
Good morning. It's 57 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. President Trump could be rethinking whether he'll deploy National Guard troops to Chicago. Trump says he may wait until he gets a request from Governor Pritzker to do so.
I didn't get a request from the governor of Illinois, is affected maybe more than anybody else, right? And I think until I get that request from that guy, I'm not going to do anything about it.
Pritzker says he isn't inviting Trump to send the National Guard to Chicago to combat violence. Meanwhile, Governor Pritzker and other officials are celebrating the grand opening of the Illinois Holocaust Museum's new satellite location in downtown Chicago today. Officials say the new museum will continue the center's mission of education and storytelling as the Skokie Museum is temporarily closed for renovations. The new location will feature artifacts and personal mementos from survivors, photograph exhibits, a virtual reality film experience, and interactive conversations with survivors in the holography theater. Charges are pending after a woman was sexually assaulted in the River West neighborhood. Police say the incident happened early yesterday in the 800 block of West Superior Street. The victim was sent to the hospital for evaluation. The suspect tried to flee in a vehicle but hit a pole. He was taken into custody. A man is hospitalized in critical condition after being shot on the south side. Police say the victim and a woman were inside an apartment early yesterday in the 6200 block of South Michigan Avenue when the woman's ex-boyfriend kicked the door in and shot the man. The suspect fled and remains on the loose. News is a service of Air Right Heating and Cooling, offering AM 560 listeners $56 off of any service, including inspections. Don't wait for a heat wave for that old air conditioner to break down. Visit Air Right Heating and Cooling today at AIR-RITE.com. Again, that's AIR-RITE.com. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Join John Anthony, host of Black and Right, for a cruise on Lake Michigan, Saturday, September 6th. Come aboard the luxury yacht Free Spirit for a fun afternoon with fellow AM 560 listeners. Enjoy great food and beverages and be a part of the live broadcast of Black and Right with John Anthony. Tickets are on sale now at 560theanswer.com/cruise. That's 560theanswer.com/cruise.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
I'm Robert Anderson, president of McLaughlin Body Company in the Quad Cities, and a customer of Signature Bank. When our 100-year-old family-owned manufacturing company was looking for a new bank, we found an excellent partner with Signature Bank. Signature Bank understands the challenges with manufacturing in today's highly competitive environment. We recently participated in a new markets tax credit program, and we're fortunate to have the experts at Signature Bank help us navigate the complexities of this program. With Signature Bank's support, we were able to expand not only our facility, but ultimately our business. If you're looking for a trusted banking partner for your business, look to Chicago's own Signature Bank.
Signature Bank is looking for their next success story. To learn more about turning your business vision into reality, visit signaturebank.bank. Signature Bank, helping local businesses succeed. Member FDIC, Equal housing lender.
You're great at protecting your own personal information. You probably even use things like two-factor authentication, strong passwords, VPN. But as much as you try to be in control of how your information is protected, there's lots of places that also have it. That's why LifeLock monitors millions of data points every single second for identity threats. If your identity is stolen, a LifeLock specialist is going to help solve the identity theft issues, guaranteed, or your money back. Save up to 40% off your first year with a promo code Beck at LifeLock.com. Terms apply.
Surprise! Your expenses this month were way higher than you expected! Also, you forgot to renew your website domain and now you're in a bidding war!
You should see the look on your face! At Progressive, we know small business owners don't usually like surprises because they cost you money. But a good surprise that could save you money? Getting a commercial auto quote from Progressive.
Plus, the fridge died in the break room and now everything smells weird!
Surprise yourself. See if you can save in as little as 8 minutes at ProgressiveCommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
Attention investors with a 401k, IRA, or retirement account. The dollar has lost over 25% of its value in the past 5 years, and it's only going to get worse. Are you prepared for what's about to happen next? We are Advantage Gold, the #1 customer-rated gold IRA company in America, and we are helping Americans prepare for the great de-dollarization by diversifying their portfolios with physical precious metals. We've partnered with former chief economist of the IMF, Kenneth Rogoff, to give away his latest book called Our Dollar, Your Problem, a must-read for investors. Call 800-741-GOLD, and we'll rush a free copy of Our Dollar, Your Problem to your doorstep and include our special gold IRA investing kit, valued at $49. The dollar is losing value fast. Call 800-741-GOLD now to get your free copy of Our Dollar, Your Problem and our free gold IRA investing kit. Supplies are limited. Consult your tax and financial professional before investing. Call 800-741-4653. That's 800-741-GOLD.
From the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens, inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 22 minutes. Outbound, 14 minutes. On the Kennedy, inbound from Montrose to the Burn Interchange, 17 minutes. Outbound, about 22 minutes. On the Eisenhower, inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 32 minutes. Outbound, about 24 minutes. On the Stevenson, inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, 31 minutes. Outbound is 18 minutes. On the Dan Ryan, inbound from 95th to the Burn Interchange, 20 minutes. Outbound is still 11 minutes. Traffic is a service of Woodland Windows and Doors in Roselle. For over 52 years, Woodland has been transforming living spaces with Marvin Windows, featuring styles ranging from modern to traditional. Visit woodlandwindows.com to get started today. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will be mostly sunny and pleasant with a high of 74. Tonight, expect clear skies and cooler temperatures with a low of 54. Tomorrow, we'll see sunshine mixed with high clouds, creating a pleasant day with a high of 78. Thursday will bring a mix of clouds and sun, along with a few thunder showers in the early afternoon. Temperatures will reach a high of 73. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft. So, Jelly Belly got BLM Brandon and his other friends together for a big show of force yesterday in response to the prospect that President Trump would scramble the National Guard, federalize it here, and use it for the enforcement of federal laws in the city of Chicago. Because could you imagine? Could you imagine a military presence in Chicago? A takeover of the Windy City?
The President of the United States is doing this for theatrics. This is not because we've asked for it. It is not because there is some justice that he is going to seek. It is because he wants to create chaos. Earlier today in the Oval Office, Donald Trump looked at the assembled cameras and asked for me personally to say, Mr. President, can you do us the honor of protecting our city? Instead, I say, Mr. President, do not come to Chicago. You are neither wanted here nor needed here. Your remarks about this effort over the last several weeks have betrayed a continuing slip in your mental faculties and are not fit for the auspicious office that you occupy. Most alarming, you seem to lack any appropriate concern as our commander-in-chief for the members of the military that you would so callously deploy as pawns in your ever more alarming grabs for power.
Deploying the National Guard is using the military as pawns, political pawns. What about defenestrating and defunding the police in Chicago? The Chicago police feel like you, Jelly Belly, your buddy, BLM Brandon, have their back? Any law enforcement? That's not the read I get. Would they welcome being able to work with federal law enforcement on the range of issues that relate to public safety, including people in this country illegally who pose a public safety threat? I suspect most would. Do you survey the opinions of law enforcement on the topic? Governor, a disgrace to the auspicious, prodigious office that you occupy. I think Jelly Belly was just a little upset that Trump called him a slob. He is, particularly intellectually. He is more grotesque intellectually and rhetorically than he is physically. And that's saying something, because he doesn't exactly cut a attractive swath, if you've seen the gentleman. Tammy Duckworth was there, all the usual suspects, the great pantheon of leaders that we've put together in Illinois at the state as well as local level. Sack of Durbin there on his way out the door. Father Flagler, of course, from the Bazooka Joe gum, cartoon series, is there with his pompadour, standing up for the black man as Father Flagler's want to do so courageously. He's done such a great job. How's the neighborhood around St. Sabina? How's his, 4 decades there? How's that worked out for the neighborhood? It's great, right? Real boom town? Same mentality with a collar that we see with a lapel pin from the politicians. Tammy Duckworth.
It should come as no surprise that Donald Trump is once again attacking Chicago. He has for a long time, and he will probably keep on doing it for years to come. It is because he is afraid of us.
Afraid of who? First of all, how is he whether you agree with the use of the National Guard or not, how is that attacking Chicago? In one breath, they suggest that, he's doing a great disservice to our wonderful men and women in the military. On the other hand, he's suggesting the National Guard is some sort of goon squad that's going to sack the city. So which is it? Attacking Chicago? How would the National Guard's presence here be an attack on the city? You could say it's not needed. You can raise the posse comitatus concerns if you want. But it's an attack? They're so hysterical. So pathetic. More of the same. And that will produce more of the same, I suspect. Corey Brooks, senior pastor of New Beginnings Church of Chicago, founder and CEO of Project Hood, joins us now. Corey, did you not get invited to yesterday's presser?
No, I definitely did not get invited to yesterday's presser, and I doubt that I would ever be invited to anything that Governor Pritzker or Mayor Johnson are attempting to do for our city. So it's definitely a philosophical difference.
What's your maybe you can help me out? What's your reaction? But also too, especially to Father Flagler, a fellow religious man, religious leader. How's it going around St. Sabina? has he moved the needle within his community, church community and neighborhood after 4 decades?
You know, I'm not really sure about what the crime looks like around Father Pfleger's church. I know that it is a high crime area. I know that he's been trying to do something for years in that area, but I don't know whether it's been successful or not. What I do know is that on the south sides of Chicago and the west sides of Chicago, we have extreme crime. And what I witnessed yesterday, to me, was deplorable. For individuals to say that Donald Trump is attacking Chicago when we're not looking at the interests of people's safety in Chicago, that is distasteful. We are living in a city that is under siege. Young Black boys are shooting at a very high rate, killing one another. We have people downtown beating people up, robbing them. We have stores being broken into. This is not normal. And we need to bring in the National Guard. I support bringing in the National Guard, but I also stand by the fact that that's a temporary fix. But we do need to calm these streets, and we do need to calm the crime. That needs to happen.
Auburn Gresham, that's where St. Sabina is. 9 homicides, 39 wounded this year. So it's in the top 10 most violent, 7, I think, most violent neighborhoods in the city, which it always is. I mean, so much of this, like what we're talking about is, well, this is what it's always been. It's been better, it's been worse, but it's always been something like this, at least for the last, I don't know, 40 years, since the 80s at least. And we've just become sort of a nerd to it, and we get the the big city living arguments, and not just from the politicians, but from a lot of the residents too. Say, oh, that's just part of big city living, and they're working on it, and it's complicated, but we're making progress. We just need to stay the course, and they get away with it.
Yeah, our area used to be, in 2014, the Chicago Sun-Times called it the most dangerous neighborhood in all of Chicago. We took control of that, and we've been able to transform it. And I tell people, I'm for the National Guard. I'm for them coming in. But the National Guard is going to stand on corners. But it's a community group like Project Hood that's going to stand in the lives of people and transform the lives. We have to take responsibilities for our neighborhood, and we have to make sure that we change it. Big government and government coming in to save the day never works. And that's going to be a temporary fix. I'm for them coming in, calming it down. But at the end of the day, we have to take control. We have to transform the neighborhood, and we have to do something about it. And we have to stand against Pritzker and Johnson and their rhetoric, and let people know that what they're saying is not true, and this is not normal, and we need to stand against it.
You heard from BLM Brandon. I mean, part of the stock lines from this crowd is about violence interrupters. And even though there's basically $100 million in combined state, county, and city cash to violence prevention programs in Chicago, there's always more money that's needed. But, not all violence interrupters are created equal. For example, earlier this year, a peacekeeper got a 9-year prison sentence for taking part in a mob beating that left a motorist badly injured in Little Village, for example. So, who protects the violence, who interrupts the violence interrupter sort of thing to some extent. And others are just sort of pass-throughs for political activists to have a job while they're waiting for the next campaign. So this is just a little bit more complicated. But I want to get your reaction to that characterization of violence interrupters, and to the notion that more violence prevention programs and more violence interrupters is really what the order of the day is.
Yeah, I tell people, in every aspect of life, in every profession, you're going to have some bad apples. You're going to have some bad apples on the police department. You're going to have some bad apples in the district attorney's office. You're going to have some bad publicists and radio announcers and radio people, public media people. Every profession has some bad apples. And it is true that in the profession of violence interrupters, there are some bad apples, individuals who do not need to work. But for the most part, there are some great guys and great ladies who have turned their lives around and who are doing great job and great work in the community. Do we need to invest more? It remains to be seen. I believe we need to do hardcore metrics. We need to do statistics. We need to do all the things to know if something is working. That a lot of times with government, they fund all these things and they put all this money into things, and they never do the metrics. The metrics don't lie. The stats don't lie. And so we have to use those things to determine if something is successful or not. And I don't think we've had enough time to determine if we need to raise the investment, but we do need to keep the investment and see if it's going to work over time. But there are definitely some bad apples, and there are definitely some people who are using it to fund their political campaigns and their political teams. That's no secret.
What do you see on the South Side in terms of, what you hear about violent crime being markedly down year over year? Have you seen a significant, noticeable improvement in quality of life and reduction of predatory conduct in where you operate?
Where we operate, we've seen crime go down is because we have a vested interest, and we've started working with individuals in the neighborhood to change their lives directly, to help them to change their mindset, to get them to take responsibility for themselves. But I will also say this, that it's still violence. Lots of violence. There are still lots of murders on the south sides and west sides of Chicago, and it's even filtering downtown. There is absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt, too much crime in the city of Chicago. And anyone who does not want to be concerned about the safety of individuals is an individual that should not be an elected official in our city or in our state. And what we're witnessing before us are individuals who are not concerned about the public safety. And that is the number one issue and the number one concern that government should be doing and should be concerned about, and that is the safety of individuals. And I can tell you for a surety that people on the south sides and west sides of Chicago, they don't feel safe. And downtown, they're not feeling safe. And whatever we can do to make people safe, we need to do it.
Yeah, and it's funny too, because we've had these discussions for many years. As I've said, it seems to be on this perpetual hamster wheel. But I mentioned this a couple times over the last couple of weeks. But I'm old enough, and you're old enough to remember when it was Chicago Democrats like Representative LaShawn Ford and Cook County Commissioner John Fritchie, who, when there was a spike in crime during the violent crime during Rahm's first couple years in office, they wanted the National Guard called in when Obama was in the White House. They were promoting it. And I don't recall the hue and cry from their fellow Democrats about them being tyrants, dictators, making a call that was unwanted and unnecessary and otherwise offensive, and that everything is fine and we've got a handle on it, and so on and so forth. So, boy, it's a big rhetorical change from some of the same people in reaction to the same proposal.
People really need to look, especially in our community and on the west side of Chicago, they really need to look at why they continue to vote Democrat. When they continue to see people who they're voting for not be concerned about their interests, that should concern them drastically. And what we are witnessing are individuals who are more concerned about President Trump than they are the safety of their citizens. Yeah. And they would rather attack Trump than keep our citizens safe. And that is something that we all need to speak out about and that we all need to say something about, because they're spewing rhetoric. They're spewing malicious attacks against the president. They're politicizing it themselves by having meetings and pressers like they had yesterday. That is definitely not true, and I'm going to say things about it. We need other people to say things about it, because We need to make sure that our children are safe. I'm tired of doing funerals. I'm tired of having to go and see a mother who's crying because her son was shot and killed. That is not normal. And I think they're trying to make us believe that living in these dangerous situations and in these crime-infested neighborhoods, that it's normal, it's acceptable, and something and things are getting better. No, it is absolutely not.
All right, before we let you go, when are you going full Forrest Gump again? When are you doing your walk across America?
I'm starting my walk across America September 1st in New York Times Square. I'm going to be walking. My team is going to be working in Chicago in our community to make things better. And I hope and pray that people will help us so that we can continue to do all the work that we continue to do. Because like I said, the National Guard can come on the corners and stand, but it's organizations like Project Hood that stand in the lives of people to transform them. So we're going to need organizations after they're gone, and Project Hood is that organization. So help us out.
ProjectHood.org is the website, ProjectHood.org, and you're walking 3,000 miles over the next year from New York to L.A., right?
Yes, 3,000 miles from New York to L.A. to bring hope, merit, and the faith to areas, saving one block at a time, communicating to America one block at a time. But our goal is to raise $25 million so that we can continue to do the work. 1, pay off our center. 2, build a school. 3, create Project Hoods across the country. And 4, build an endowment. So we're trying to do it without the assistance of government, and it's going to take American people to help us to make the south side of Chicago, where we are, a model for what can be done in America.
All right. Well, shelve those Sunday service wingtips and make sure you got comfortable shoes with you for this thing. All right.
Absolutely.
Walk Across America, Corey Brooks, Project Hood, ProjectHood.org kicks off September 1. We'll be following it. Pastor Brooks, thanks for joining us as always. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you so much.
And Corey Brooks joined us on the Turnkey.Pro answer line.
There's only one radio show in Chicago talking about today's biggest stories and telling you what they really mean. That show is this one, Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
Exclusive interviews, bold commentary, and behind-the-scenes insights into stories that the mainstream media won't cover. It's the Unshaken and Unafraid podcast with Joe Pags on the Salem Podcast Network.
You guys know better than anybody that you just can't compete on an equal level playing field with somebody of the opposite gender. It's just not fair. That's a fact.
Subscribe today on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Rumble, or at SalemPodcastNetwork.com.
Are you living with dry AMD? If so, you could be on the road to geographic atrophy, or GA, a condition that leads to retinal cell death and permanent vision loss. But with Izervay, you can
slow it down and get it going slower.
Izervay slows GA progression by targeting a key source of retinal cell death, which may help preserve your vision longer. Izervay, or Avastin Captid Pegol, is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com. Paid for by Astellas Pharma.
You know what really keeps me up at night? It's the criminals feel more and more bold. They have no fear of any consequences because there are none. So I did what anyone with a family should do. I called Goldilocks. They're not just some cookie-cutter security company. Goldilocks has been protecting Chicagoland homes and businesses for 4 decades, 40 years. And they actually listen. Their technician comes out to the house. He takes a look at what you need to make your house a smart home with a security system you can monitor from anywhere. It's built specifically for me and my family. Motion sensors, smart locks, cameras, monitoring, all customized. I don't trust anybody in Illinois to protect my family. I do it, and I did it by calling Goldilocks. I trust Goldilocks to keep my house, my property, and my family safe. Tell them Sean Thompson sent you, and Goldilocks will include 3 months free monitoring with any new installation. Call Goldilocks at 708-899-5600. That's 708-899-5600. Or visit them online at GoldilocksInc.com.
At Air Right Heating and Cooling, we know there's never a good time to be without AC in Chicagoland.
If you can't remember the last time your AC was inspected, don't wait for it to fail during a heat wave. Get peace of mind by having AirRight take a look. Plus, AM 560 listeners get $56 off any service. Visit AirRight Heating and Cooling today at air-rite.com. That's AIR-RITE.com. AirRight Heating and Cooling. Doing it right since 1959.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank that cares about your business and is invested in your success. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Hi, I'm Chris Johnson, CEO of Classic Cinemas and proud customer of Signature Bank. We are a local family-owned business that is known for free refills on all sizes of popcorn, soft drinks, and ices. With over 9,000 heated recliners in 16 locations, we marry the traditions of the past with today's state-of-the-art technology. Throw in a 30-minute guarantee and an after-movie mint, and you have the perfect night out. As we strive to make every guest our priority, Signature Bank does the same with their customers. The team at Signature Bank is interested in taking my company forward. They have all the resources and solutions of the big banks, but they customize their offerings to meet my business needs. The customer always comes first with Signature Bank.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Let Signature Bank turn your business vision into reality. Visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. And before we go to the headlines, in case you missed it yesterday, just to punctuate some of what Pastor Corey Brooks had to say, our very own Corey from Woodlawn, one of my favorite callers, as anybody who listens to the show knows. We heard from him earlier in the program. Corey from Woodlawn sharing this with us yesterday, a personal story about violent crime in Chicago. Corey, Woodlawn.
Hey, thanks for taking the call, Dan. I'm going to try to be quick as possible. My mother we grew up on the west side of Chicago. 9 kids by my father. 5 shot. My baby brother was murdered in May. He was beaten to death on the corner of Laramie and Lake.
Oh, my God.
Of the 9 kids she had, 3 have been murdered in the city of Chicago. This problem has been brewing for decades, and the Democrats will not lift a finger to stop it. I praise if Trump comes. He's the only one that thinks this problem is a giant problem. As Mayor Brandon Johnson rides through our neighborhood with a 50 police entourage, he doesn't care. But he also notices that this is a problem. He just wants himself and his family to be safe. Everyone else, be damned. This is a problem. And they're paying these ex-gangbangers is never going to solve it because most of them are also the problem. Thanks.
Corey, thank you so much. Obviously, geez, terribly sorry to hear about your brother who was murdered in May and other family members, too. I mean, that's, wow. Wow. I hope that brings that home for people. 9 kids, 5 shot, 3 murdered on the streets of Chicago in Corey's family. Oof. Coming up at 7:37, we'll stay state and local. All things Illinois policy related with Ted Dabrowski, our weekly conversation with WirePoints.org's president at 7:37. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It's 57 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. President Trump says he's removing a member of the Federal Reserve after allegations of mortgage fraud.
President Trump is saying you're fired to a member of the Federal Reserve Board who has been accused of falsifying mortgage documents. But Governor Lisa Cook has not been criminally charged or convicted and says the president has no cause to dismiss her and she won't leave. President Trump has accused the Fed of acting too slowly to cut interest rates. Cook is a Biden appointee who's been on the Fed board since 2022. I'm Rory O'Neill.
Due to this, gold is seeing gains and the dollar is down.
Gold is seen as a safe haven asset which investors flock to amid economic uncertainty. Therefore, prices of the precious metal gained a boost from President Trump saying he would immediately remove Federal Reserve official Lisa Cook from her position. This is seen as a major escalation in his battle against the U.S. central bank. Gold prices have risen sharply this year amid uncertainty over global trade and geopolitical instability. Rebecca Bundin, Mumbai.
News is a service of Quick Delivery Service. Make Quick Delivery Service your personal ground crew anytime, anywhere, any place. When you need to move your shipment or freight, Quick Delivery will get it there. Get a quote in advance and eliminate any surprises at quickdelivery.com. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Larry Elder sees a great move from the president.
And so Trump is trying to figure out a way that we can defy history and retain the majority of Republican members in this midterm when historically the presidential party loses seats in the midterm. So Trump's trying to reverse that and thinking outside the box. I'm impressed. And if the shoe were on the other foot, certainly the Democrats will be doing the same thing.
The Larry Elder Show, weeknights at 8, right before Sean Hannity at 10 on AM 560. The Answer.
It's Reveille. Americans have traditionally valued those in society with verified expertise, usually noted by degrees from prominent universities. The more and higher degrees, the better. Having successfully built a business, invested well, or earned a high corporate management position evident by one's wealth also denotes expertise, the exception being wealth gained via inheritance or marriage. Still, others may not have doctorates or wealth, but have been through experiences where they have gained expertise through self-learning. Think of an Army combat soldier, someone who has climbed Mount Everest, a master violinist, and a machinist, mechanic, or master chef. If COVID taught us anything, it was that the expert class isn't always experts and can easily succumb to herd mentality and political positions. Much of what they did in COVID didn't square with our innate common understanding of how the world works. And during COVID, more than any class of elitists, the medical profession was the most disappointing. And that credentialed class continues to disappoint. Alicia Finley, writing in the Wall Street Journal, gave us a good reminder of how we need to be skeptical of the expert class, and specifically the American Medical Association. She noted that the AMA advocates for abortion, electrical vehicle mandates, transgender procedures, even on minors, race-based college admissions, and the COVID shot. Also, clearly, expertise in one field does not carry over to expertise in another field. Let's not forget leaders in religious, business, and education organizations that bought into the COVID lockdowns and DEI culture. Americans descend from people who risked everything for the pursuit of life, liberty, and happiness. We respect expertise, but know a con job when we see it. It's beyond time for the real experts with common sense to clean up their own professions. Thankfully, President Trump is doing his part by simply defending himself from so-called experts. I'm Jeannie Ives. Check out The Real Story on Sunday from 7 to 9 p.m. and sign up for my newsletter at breakthrough-ideas.com.
Making the switch to a new communications and IT company may seem like a big ordeal, but if you're not getting the reliable support, consistent internet, and secure solutions your company needs, meet Access One, your local Chicagoland IT experts. Access One has been powering Chicago businesses with secure, reliable IT solutions for over 30 years from our headquarters right here in the West Loop. Whether it's VoIP phones, dedicated internet, managed cybersecurity, cloud backups, or 24/7 support, Access One is here for you. Serving thousands of companies from Naperville to the North Shore, Access One is Chicago-owned and Chicago-run, a trusted IT partner for law firms, clinics, tech startups to manufacturers. We'll make the switch easier than you think. Let's talk. Call 800-804-8333 or visit accessoneinc.com. Rated top 5% in customer satisfaction and a Better Business Bureau A+ rated business. That's accessoneinc.com. Tech made personal locally.
Viking, dedicated to creating travel experiences for the thinking person, with programs designed for cultural enrichment on board and on shore. Discover more at Viking.com.
From the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 20 minutes. Outbound, 15 minutes. On the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Byrne Interchange, 23 minutes. Outbound, 20 minutes. On the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 45 minutes. Outbound, 26 minutes. On the Stevenson inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, 44 minutes. Outbound, 25 minutes. And on the Dan Ryan inbound from 95th to the Byrne Interchange, 22 minutes. Outbound, 11 minutes. This report is sponsored by Audible. Stuck in traffic? Audible's romance collection will have you falling fast in the slow lane. Satisfy every side of you with best-selling modern rom-coms, the hottest romantasy series, and anticipated new releases. Start listening free when you sign up for a 30-day trial at audible.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will be mostly sunny and pleasant with a high of 74. Tonight, expect clear skies and cooler temperatures with a low of 54. Tomorrow will bring sunshine with some high clouds, remaining pleasant with a high of 78. Thursday, we'll see a mix of clouds and sun with a chance of a couple of thunder showers in the early afternoon and a high of 73. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
Insert Democrat socialist here.
Runs the Democratic House floor for 30 plus years running. He's promising this and he's stealing that. Where can you get that kind of money? He's using your house like his own piggy bank. You ought to know by now. You can pay off your house here in Illinois, but you can never keep up with the taxes. Oh, how it's always been the plan to have a taxpayer pay, no doubt. Not a matter of if anymore, but when. You're moving out. I said, when you're moving out.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here, and that theme music means it's time for our weekly conversation with Ted Dabrowski, president of WirePoints, wirepoints.org, all things Illinois policy related. But first, President Trump yesterday from the Oval Office debating openly whether or not he will indeed green light the National Guard deployment to Chicago to aid with keeping the peace. Because, you know, he does these big cities and their political hacks a solid, and he just gets flack for it.
I was telling some of the people that in a certain way, you really want to be asked to go. You know, I hate to barge in on a city and then be treated horribly by corrupt politicians and bad politicians like a guy like Pritzker. He ought to spend more time in the gym, actually. This guy is a disaster. I don't know, they have a political thing about it. It's like the craziest thing I've ever seen. But I don't like going to a town, city, place, a state, and then be criticized by some corrupt or incompetent governor where crime is rampant.
Nobody wants to see Pritzker in the gym more because nobody wants to see that body in spandex or short shorts, Mr. President. But he continued offering more commentary.
You have people, I watched in Illinois, Chicago, Illinois is a disaster. I have property there. It's a disaster what's going on in Chicago. And you get Pritzker, he's violating our rights. I think this is another men and women's sports thing. I think this is one of those, you know, they call them 80-20 issues. I call them 97-3. I think the Democrats better get smart. And, you know, politically, I hope they don't. But actually, in terms of love for the country, I hope they do, because it would be good to work together. So I'm thinking about, you know, when I have some slob like Pritzker criticizing us before we even go there, I made the statement that next should be Chicago, because as you all know, Chicago is a killing field right now. And they don't acknowledge it. And they say, we don't need him. Freedom, freedom. He's a dictator. He's a dictator. A lot of people are saying maybe we like a dictator. I don't like a dictator. I'm not a dictator. I'm a man with great common sense, and I'm a smart person. And when I see what's happening to our cities, and then you send in troops, instead of being praised, they're saying you're trying to take over the republic. These people are sick. But I'm really saying, and I say this to all of you, in a certain way, we should wait to be asked, because they have cities that are so under control, you know, out of control.
I found this comment too from the Civic Committee President, Derek Douglas, to be interesting. So here's a erstwhile business leader opining on the topic, folding in with the state as the rent-seeking Chicago business leadership, in leadership in scare quotes, is wont to do. Part of the problem. They talk about authoritarianism, they whine about authoritarianism ad nauseum, and then you look around at this state, and it is the closest thing to a society that has completely folded into its own government in the country. The ironies abound. Civic Committee President Derek Douglas on the possibility of deploying the National Guard. It will impact businesses' bottom lines and ability to operate efficiently. It will impact tourism and employees getting to their jobs. What? What are you talking about? It will impact businesses' bottom lines and ability to operate efficiently. It will impact tourism and employees getting to their jobs. You know what impacts tourism? Chicago's reputation as a killing field, as the president just said. Does that impact tourism? Does that impact people's bottom lines? Does the complete catastrophic management of the city of Chicago under BLM Brandon and Triple Threat before him and Tiny Dancer before her and so forth, does that impact businesses' bottom lines and ability to operate efficiently, impact tourism, employees getting to their jobs? How about the lawlessness on that midnight mystery train called the CTA? I should say murder mystery train. I'm thinking of conflating that Brad Cooper movie, Midnight Meat Train. Anyway, I mean, this is how feeble, how limp the business community is in the city. So where does the opposition come from, you ask rhetorically, because the answer we all know is nowhere. So it rolls on. And people continue to get rolled over. Ted Dabrowski, thanks for joining us as always. Appreciate it.
Hey, good morning, Dan.
So you're contemplating a run for governor, as we've discussed on this show. What would your response to Trump and or Pritzker be?
Well, I think Trump has it right in that we have an emergency in Chicago. Pritzker and everybody before him, and Lightfoot and Johnson and before them, they've all normalized this murder and this crime, and especially in west and south sides. Of course, it spread in the recent years to more than that, but they've normalized it. And so when we see our murders go down a little bit this year, suddenly it's all okay. And Trump is doing something that's different from what anybody's done, and I think you touched on it a few days ago. He doesn't care if crime's lower. What he cares about is whether we have safe cities. And that's a really novel thought. To have a Chicago that's safe. It's novel to think of a parent who can let their kids go outside and not get murdered. And we forget about that. Look, I've been privileged to live in safe places. I live in a safe place now, but I couldn't imagine having to think about whether my kid goes outside and he might not come back tomorrow or the same day because he gets shot, or he gets or he doesn't have to get shot, right? He can get abused, he can get hurt, and we've forgotten about that. So Trump is opening up our minds to that, and something like the National Guard, it's controversial, but you know what? It would send a signal that we finally care. Like, we care about those people too, not just the loop, and I just think that. Of course, it'll get litigated if he does something, but it is an emergency. And I think, I've tracked these numbers for a long time. I looked at the Chicago numbers compared to New York's and the other big cities. We're the extreme national outlier for murders. We're the extreme national outliers for crime. And, it's a pity because, guys like Johnson and Pritzker have made it worse with with the Safety Act, getting rid of bail, getting rid of ShotSpotter, any chase of bad guys, foot chases, car chases. We've decarcerated. We've got horrible people who have just let murderous people get back on the streets. It's a disaster. So we should listen to Trump, and we should be motivated to actually attack the problems by unwinding all the bad things that largely Democrats have done over the last 100 years in Chicago.
A new study led by Northwestern University researchers looked at 7,000 pediatric gun injuries in the states of Florida, Maryland, New York, and Wisconsin over a 5-year period between 2016 and 2021. 7,000 pediatric gun injuries, Florida, Maryland, New York, Wisconsin, 5 years, 2016 to 2021. Children who live in what were described or categorized for the purposes of this research, children who live in low opportunity neighborhoods. are up to 20 times more likely to be shot than those living in high opportunity areas. That, sort of follows logically from what we've all borne witness to over so many decades in Chicago. Yeah, the west and south sides are a lot safer for kids, a lot less safe for kids than, Lincoln Park, the Gold Coast, Streeterville. Right. Yeah, we get this. But if that's true, then how do you how is that not an emergency? I mean, it's been an emergency for a long time. It's just never been categorized. 20 times. You're for the downtrodden. You're for the little guy. You're for people that are trying to make ends meet and playing by the rules. Meanwhile, they're trapped in neighborhoods where their kids are 20 times, according to Northwestern University researchers, 20 times more likely to be shot than kids a few miles away in Streeterville or Lincoln Park. And your answer to that is what? What answer could they possibly give?
Well, that's precisely the point, and I think that's why he's right. It's an emergency, and if you could imagine if we had those kind of murder numbers and crime numbers move into the North Shore of Chicago, tomorrow that would be an emergency. It's just not an emergency where it's happening now because nobody cares, and I think that's a real disqualifying what do you want to call it characteristic for Pritzker, for Johnson, because they're not fighting for the little guy. They're not fighting for their people, right? I don't know who, like you said, I don't know who Pritzker's their people are, but he's certainly not defending his own people. He's politicizing the Trump thing, of course, for political points, but he's not going to do the right thing, and that's what's wrong. And the only reason Trump wants to come here is because these guys, Pritzker and Johnson, have made things worse. They are apologists for the crime. They're apologists for the criminals, and that has to change. And of course, that's why they shouldn't be in office.
Right, and it's funny too, because thinking about this at the state versus local level, the state and Pritzker and BLM Brandon, they're joined at the hip on this. They're a tandem, they're a team. And so is everybody else at the podium yesterday, having their turn to decry Trump. Well, what about state level resources being applied to Chicago, which is something that has occurred previously?
Right. Well, so this is an important point, and I want to cover this because I'm sure that the critics of this will say, well, the National Guard's not going to solve the problem. Well, it won't solve the long-term problem. This is a signaling short-term that, hey, we care about you and your communities. But back to what Corey Brooks said, and also what Bob Woodson said, whatever it was last week or 2 weeks ago. You got to solve the problem, and here's the other big issue that's behind this is that we don't have an economy that grows anymore. And so people in the South and West sides don't get to participate in a growing economy. Chicago, among the 15 largest cities in the country, has got the worst growth since Pritzker took office. Minimal growth. You got Phoenix and Miami growing 4 and 5 times faster than Chicago. So you've got to solve the problem by eventually bringing economic growth and prosperity and opportunity to these communities. Otherwise, right, we can bring in the National Guard, but it doesn't solve the problem. You got to really solve the problem by bringing in growth and investment and some opportunity and some hope. We got to bring hope.
Yeah, it's something I would expect the president of the Civic Committee to say, rather than giving some bull jive, mealy-mouthed nonsense about the National Guard interrupting people's commute to work.
Oh,
what the hell is wrong with these people?
Well, that was if he knew something, and if Derek Douglas knew something about his own economy that he purports to support, he would know that we're at the bottom of the barrel. And this whole National Guard comment and impacting the economy, forget that. It's the horrific policies we have on spending. We spend much more than we ever take in. We keep raising taxes, and we're hurting everybody all the time, except for the wealthy. They can take care of themselves. We know that, or they can move. But everyday Illinois are just getting slugged.
Ted Dabrowski, President of WirePoints, wirepoints.org, all things Illinois policy related. Thanks, Ted.
Thank you, Dan. And
he joined us in the Turnkey.pro answer line.
This is the morning show more Chicago radio listeners are choosing. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
At Air Right Heating and Cooling, we know there's never a good time to be without AC in Chicagoland. If you can't remember the last time your AC was inspected, don't wait for it to fail during a heat wave. Get peace of mind by having AirRight take a look. Plus, AM 560 listeners get $56 off any service. Visit AirRight Heating and Cooling today at air-rite.com. That's AIR-RITE.com. AirRight Heating and Cooling. Doing it right since 1959.
You know what really keeps me up at night? It's the criminals feel more and more bold. They have no fear of any consequences because there are none. So I did what anyone with a family should do. I called Goldilocks. They're not just some cookie-cutter security company. Goldilocks has been protecting Chicagoland homes and businesses for 4 decades, 40 years. And they actually listen. Their technician comes out to the house. He takes a look at what you need to make your house a smart home with a security system you can monitor from anywhere. It's built specifically for me and my family. Motion sensors, smart locks, cameras, monitoring, all customized. I don't trust anybody in Illinois to protect my family. I do it, and I did it by calling Goldilocks. I trust Goldilocks to keep my house, my property, and my family safe. Tell them Sean Thompson sent you, and Goldilocks will include 3 months free monitoring with any new installation. Call Goldilocks at 708-899-5600. That's 708-899-5600. Or visit them online at GoldilocksInc.com.
If you have unfiled taxes or are in debt to the IRS, this is important news. Did you know the IRS has programs specifically designed to help people struggling with tax debt? Powerful tax assistance programs that can save you thousands if you qualify. No one knows these programs better than the experts at Optima Tax Relief, America's most trusted tax resolution firm. A-plus rated by the Better Business Bureau, their award-winning tax attorneys and licensed professionals have resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. One call to Optima can start the process, helping to put an end to your worries about wage garnishment, asset seizure, and other aggressive IRS actions. Find the best options to solve your tax problems. Call the experts at Optima Tax Relief today for a free consultation.
Call 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
The following is not an actor, but a real-life story from Trinity Debt Management.
Hi, my name's Neil. I have some advice for you if you've been trying to break free from credit card debt. You can start by doing what I did. Get your bills together and call Trinity Debt Management. Trinity is dedicated to helping people like me become debt-free. When I called, my first experience was a feeling of relief. My counselor was kind, and best of all, she didn't judge me. In just a few minutes, she helped me figure out a plan that consolidated all my bills into one lower monthly payment. This substantially reduced my high interest rates and put me on the road to success. In the end, I saved thousands in interest, and today, my credit card debt is a thing of the past.
If credit card debt has you down, call Trinity at 1-800-990-6976.
My name is Neil. Take it from someone who's been there. Call Trinity and become debt-free for keeps.
1-800-990-6976.
The IRS finally caught up with Louie.
I hadn't paid my taxes in 8 years. I owe the IRS a lot of money.
Louie was in deep trouble.
We're going to take your house, put a lien on your bank account, garnish your pay. They don't care. They're going to take your paycheck.
Louie found out about Optima Tax Relief, the leading tax resolution firm. A-plus rated by the Better Business Bureau, they've resolved over $1 billion for their clients.
Optima Tax, they help me. They calm me down. They make me feel comfortable, and I trust them.
Louie has a lot to be thankful for.
I don't owe the IRS anymore, and I'm able to live a comfortable life, a lot better life. It was because of Optima Tax.
For tax help you can trust, call Optima now for a free consultation. Take it from Louie.
If you owe the IRS, don't go it alone. Give Optima Tax a call. They can help you.
Call 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433.
Optima Tax Relief.
Testimonial from an actual client. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
AM 560. The Answer.
We'll return to our discussion of border security at 8:08 when Katarina Schultz joins us. She's an investigative reporter based in Mexico City who writes about the drug cartels there and is examining the question as to whether Trump will go to war with the cartels and what that would look like. We'll discuss that all with her at 8:08. It is now 8 a.m. on AM 560 WIND Chicago.
Expanding targets for a tough on crime agenda. I'm Angelo Bavaro, Fox News, riding high on what he says is success in D.C. President Trump is teasing National Guard troops could be heading to other cities.
The White House says there have been more than 1,000 arrests in D.C. since they began their operation on August 7th. They say among those who were arrested, 6 were known gang members. They also say 2 missing children have been found and more than 100 illegal guns have been seized. The White House touting these figures as the president cracks down on cashless bail with 2 executive orders that threaten to revoke federal funding for jurisdictions that allow the practice. All of this comes as the president considers sending the military in other cities. Top of mind is Chicago. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker says they'll use any peaceful tool they have to fight back against the deployment of the National Guard.
Fox's Madeline Rivera, the president also ordering the Defense Department to make sure each state has some troops that would be ready to deploy quickly. President Trump opening a new front in the fight over America's central bank.
In a letter shared to Truth Social, President Trump says he's removing Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook from her position effective immediately. He cites a criminal referral from Bill Pulte, the director of the Federal Housing Finance Agency, who has claimed Cook falsified bank documents and property records, alleging she claimed 2 different properties were her primary residences when obtaining mortgages in 2021. In the letter addressed to Cook, the president explains, in light of your deceitful and potentially criminal conduct in a financial matter, I do not have such confidence in your integrity. Cook was appointed by former President Biden and has been serving a term that ends in 2038. Kristen Goodwin, Fox News.
Cook says she will not step down. She's among several Fed policymakers who have defied President Trump's calls for interest rate cuts. America is listening to Fox News.
Good morning. It's 60 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer Newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. State and local leaders are telling President Trump to keep the National Guard out of Chicago. Governor Pritzker says there's no reason for Trump to send troops into the city to fight crime, calling the move unconstitutional and un-American.
This is not about fighting crime. This is not about fighting crime. This is about Donald Trump searching for any justification to deploy the military in a blue city, in a blue state, to try and intimidate his political rivals.
Mayor Johnson asked the Trump administration to provide more funding for violence prevention.
Instead of spending hundreds of millions of dollars for a publicity stunt to invoke chaos and terror, the federal government should spend that money on proven solutions to crime and violence reduction.
Pritzker, Johnson, and State Attorney General Kwame Raoul say that they are all exploring legal options should Trump deploy guardsmen. The fiery speech came the same day Trump appeared to waver on whether he would send federal troops into Chicago, saying he may wait until he gets a request from Pritzker to do so. Another Chicago area university is under investigation over allegations of anti-Semitism on campus. The House Education and Workforce Committee has launched a probe into the University of Illinois College of Medicine. In a letter to the university, the committee says it learned that the Jewish students are experiencing hostility and fear at the institution. The University of Illinois College of Medicine joins DePaul and Northwestern as universities under federal scrutiny over anti-Semitic accusations. News is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Have you been getting high quotes for dental implants? With medical PPO insurance, it's possible to save 90% off on average. See if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com, making smiles great again. A check the roads coming up in 2 minutes, but now time for the Signature Bank Business Beat.
I'm Liz Clayman, and this is the Fox Business Report.
AT&T is making a big move to improve its coverage. It will purchase spectrum licenses from EchoStar for $23 billion, covering more than 400 markets across the U.S. AT&T CEO John Stankey says the purchase will enhance customers' 5G and home internet experience in even more markets. EchoStar will operate as a hybrid mobile network operator under the Boost Mobile brand. Eli Lilly is reporting promising results in tests of its weight loss pill. Those participating in a study lost an average of about 10% of their body weight. The pill is taken once a day without food and water restrictions. President Trump says he has fired Fed Governor Lisa Cook, though Cook says the president has no authority to fire her and she won't resign. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Ginny Coselda. Invested in you.
Charlie Kirk says we need to tread lightly.
I would introduce some caution here about trying to indict Obama. Of course, I think he probably deserves it. But remember, Obama still remains very popular amongst the American people. You could potentially create a political martyr. However, I think indicting Brennan and Comey, who are the operators here, we want this case to be ironclad. If you indict them and this fails, it's worse than never even trying.
The Charlie Kirk Show. Weekdays at 11, right before Scott Jennings at 1 on AM 560. The Answer. Don't miss In Grace with Pastor Jim Scudder Jr. Now heard on Sunday mornings at 7:30. Tune in and find hope as Jim Scudder explores God's Word and His world each Sunday morning right here on AM 560. The Answer.
Most investments today feel like second jobs. Real estate, you're a landlord. Stocks, you're a day trader. Crypto, you're a full-time researcher. You've got a life to live. Your investment should help you live it. That's why more Americans are choosing gold. Noble Gold has helped thousands protect their future with real physical gold. Visit noblegoldinvestments.com to get your free wealth protection kit. That's noblegoldinvestments.com. Past performance may not be indicative of future results. Investing in precious metals, including gold, involves risks. Consult with your tax attorney or financial professional before making an investment decision.
At Air Right Heating and Cooling, we know there's never a good time to be without AC in Chicagoland. If you can't remember the last time your AC was inspected, don't wait for it to fail during a heat wave. Get peace of mind by having Air Right take a look. Plus, AM 560 listeners get $56 off any service. Visit Air Right Heating and Cooling today at air-right.com. That's AIR-RITE.com. Air Right Heating and Cooling. Doing it right since 1959.
You're great at protecting your own personal information. You probably even use things like two-factor authentication, strong passwords, VPN. But as much as you try to be in control of how your information is protected, there's lots of places that also have it. That's why LifeLock monitors millions of data points every single second for identity threats. If your identity is stolen, a LifeLock specialist is going to help solve the identity theft issues, guaranteed, or your money back. Save up to 40% off your first year with the promo code Beck at LifeLock.com. Terms apply.
Surprise! Your expenses this month were way higher than you expected! Also, you forgot to renew your website domain and now you're in a bidding war!
You should see the look on your face! At Progressive, we know small business owners don't usually like surprises because they cost you money. But a good surprise that could save you money? Getting a commercial auto quote from Progressive.
Plus, the fridge died in the break room and now everything smells weird!
Surprise yourself. See if you can save in as little as 8 minutes at ProgressiveCommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
From the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 20 minutes, outbound 17 minutes. On the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Burn Interchange, 27 minutes, outbound 20 minutes. On the Eisenhower, inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 47 minutes, outbound 28 minutes. On the Stevenson, inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, about 40 minutes, outbound is 23 minutes. Traffic is a service of Goldilocks, offering Chicagoland state-of-the-art smart security systems to protect your home or business. AM 560 listeners receive 3 months of monitoring free with new installs. Get peace of mind by calling Goldilocks at 708-889-5600. Again, that's 708-889-5600. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will be mostly sunny and pleasant with a high of 74. Tonight, expect clear skies and cooler temperatures with a low of 54. Tomorrow, we'll see sunshine mixed with high clouds, creating a pleasant day with a high of 78. Thursday will bring a mix of clouds and sun, along with a few thunder showers in the early afternoon. Temperatures will reach a high of 73. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560, The Answer.
of the morning. Dan Proft here. Recently on a podcast called Borderland, a former Sinaloa cartel drug lord named Jay Flores, who along with his brother flipped on El Chapo and I guess were instrumental in his prosecution. Jay Flores was on this Borderline podcast. He had some interesting things to say about the Trump administration's posture towards the Mexican drug cartels, Sinaloa and CGNG in particular, and what it may mean for their future. Take a listen.
Number 2 arrested in a couple of days ago. So all these arrests are meaning something. And I do believe it's the pressure of the United States that's actually making a difference. And it's going to continue to make a difference. I could imagine that even today, right now, you have politicians, calling the government saying, hey, is there a deal there for me? I believe it's also going to happen with CJNG. It's just going to take a little bit more time because the focus has been on Sinaloa for so many years. But I think that if the government continues to put this type of pressure on CJNG, I don't see it lasting 2 years. I believe that if the Trump administration continues, that by the time the president's term is over with, the landscape in Mexico and drug cartels look very, very different. The United States is targeting, they're making so much arrests. Think about everything that's happened in the last year. And what's happened in the last year than I believe in the last 25 years or, in terms of the United States prosecution and arrest.
Well, I'm not sure whether to believe in Jay Flores' optimism about the future of the cartels or not, but it's worth digging into. So you've got Sinaloa, and then you've got CGNG, which is in Jalisco. For more on the topic, we're pleased to be joined by Katarina Schultz, investigative journalist based in Mexico City, who writes about cartels, host of the Borderline podcast, and her Substack, Send News. Katarina, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
So how are we to process what Jay Flores said? More activity to subvert the cartels from the Trump administration than anything he's seen in 25 years.
Yeah, I fully agree with this. I don't think any previous administration has fully cracked down on the cartels the way this administration has since January. I mean, it started with the Foreign Terrorist Organization designation in January, which basically allowed U.S. officials to crack down on the cartel's financial pipelines, which is, of course, the most important component for any organized crime group. And then further on from there have been 2 major transfers of these large fugitives, some notorious players in the cartel landscape, who have been sent from Mexico to the U.S. in a way that's never been done before. I mean, the U.S. and Mexico has this extradition treaty where, like, for example, when El Chapo was sent to the U.S., it was done under this treaty to basically take the death penalty off the table, and it goes through this judicial paperwork in both Mexico and the U.S. But now what we're seeing is these are kind of under the table operations where these guys are being sent from Mexican prisons to the U.S. with outside of this extradition treaty, and they're essentially being promised, you guys aren't going to get the death penalty, but you have to give information. And we're seeing this play out in real time, like with El Chapo's son, Ovidio, who is in U.S. custody and is basically facing could be facing like 10 years of prison time because he has agreed to cooperate with federal agents in the U.S. in terms of sharing information. And then multiple of his family members were given essentially asylum in the U.S. and crossed into San Diego through Tijuana just a few months ago. So this is really unprecedented, what we're seeing, and it is having rippling effects in the cartel landscape and, of course, in Mexico.
So, something that Jay Flores referenced, like government officials looking to see if there's a deal available for them, that he's talking about the corruption of the Mexican government and police, that would include too, by the cartels, which has been well documented. And I wonder if pressure from the Trump administration is having what impact, if any, it's having on President Sheinbaum to clean up the Mexican government in terms of the corrupt influence, the briberies and the extortions and the other activities that go back and forth between the cartels and the government.
So here's the thing. I don't think that Mexican officials who have even the most blatant of ties with narcos, with the cartels, are worried about any backlash from the U.S. administration. They are protected by the Republic of Mexico. And even, for example, yesterday morning, President Claudia Sheinbaum was asked by the press during her morning press conference if she's worried about the type of information that El Mayo may share about corrupt officials. And she explicitly said, without evidence, we don't care who claims what. And there is due process in the Republic of Mexico to go through proceedings to ensure that these claims are verified. Now, these claims haven't been made, but the U.S. does have this sort of unofficial watch list of Mexican officials who have narco ties, whether that's through shell companies, money laundering, straw buying, you name it, right? Particularly in border regions and also in states that are ridden with cartel activity. So Sinaloa would, of course, be at the top of that list. Now, I don't think Claudia Sheinbaum is too worried about what could happen to her because she has given the U.S. this sort of wide open back door to crack down on the cartels. I mean, she does save face in front of Mexicans and says, we will maintain our autonomy and our sovereignty. But behind the scenes, the U.S., clearly through its operations, actually has a lot of control with what's going on in terms of the cartels in Mexico. And I think that that may be this unofficial agreement between Sheinbaum and the U.S. administration so as not to go after her and possibly even so as not to go after people who are part of her administration who have been accused of narco ties for years at this point.
And the securing of the border, the southern border, obviously the open borders environment of the Biden administration is over. And how has that impeded the cartel's ability to operate just by securing the borders, in addition to the designation of the FTO, in addition to getting Sheinbaum to play ball? I mean, I guess it's all sort of adds up as part of tactics that complement each other in a larger strategy.
For sure. However, I don't think locking down the southern border really impeded cartel activity, because something that I've been reporting on for over a year now, that's kind of been my niche at this point, is how cartels have infiltrated the northern border. I mean, Canada had such a lax border policy and immigration policy, and has had that for so long, that when Trump first cracked down on the southern border during his first term, cartels started to move up north. And so they were able to curate these relationships and connections that they had already sort of made during when marijuana was illegal. And so they've moved operations up north. And so when the southern border was cracked down on, really the only operations it affected was human smuggling, which isn't their number one form of income. And even so, I think that there are still a lot of illegal, lucrative ways that the southern border remains open for business, such as crude oil theft, and how a lot of small American-owned independent refineries are purchasing this crude oil. But for the most part, if we're really looking at like fentanyl and fentanyl precursors and meth, cocaine, you name it, a lot of it is coming into the U.S. from outside of Mexico. And so I don't think that was really an issue. I think that one of the main strategies that the U.S. has implemented that is actually making some people sweat would have to be the transfer of fugitives into the U.S. But for those guys who are still, on the run and who are free and running operations businesses as normal, they're not too worried about any of this.
What about Trump sort of openly pondering military intervention to fight the cartels on foreign soil in Mexico? Something that actually Florida Governor Ron DeSantis had sort of trial ballooned during the presidential campaign as well. Are they concerned about, basically special forces operations? Is the Mexican government concerned about the possibility of special forces operations to combat the cartels in Mexico?
I've gone back and forth with this topic for a few months now because we've been hearing this rhetoric a lot. And I think a lot of people, particularly in the Mexican government and in the drug cartels, don't believe that this is actually going to happen. Like, this won't fruition to reality, especially with the way things are going in terms of that open backdoor that Mexico has given the U.S. But when we first heard sort of this rhetoric about, U.S. forces may be boots on the ground in Mexico, I spoke to some individuals operating in organized crime in Mexico, and particularly along the border region, and they told me, first of all, they're not concerned about that happening. Second of all, if it does happen, they will put up a fight. I mean, not saying that they really have a fighting chance, considering the level of operators that would be hitting boots in the ground in Mexico, but they would fight. And in all honesty, the Mexican cartels have a really high level of weaponry, whether that be their drone tactics, their armored vehicles, and then of course like arms. But for the most part, what they're saying right now is, and what they've been saying is, we just need to wait it out. We need to wait these 4 years, lay low, and kind of follow along with the crackdowns that are happening all around them.
Yeah. Okay. So it's not going to be like life imitating, the Lioness, not life imitating a Taylor Sheridan series, because I know that was attendant to the last season. I don't know if you watch, but that's what it reminded me of when I hear about the idea of sort of black ops, special forces incursion into Mexico to go after the cartels. It's more complicated than it sounds. Katarina Schultz, investigative journalist based in Mexico City, who writes about cartels. She's the host of the Borderland podcast. Her Substack is entitled Send News. Katarina Schultz, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And she joined us on the Turnkey.pro answer line.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer.
Your show keeps me alive during the week. There's nobody I'd rather listen to between 5 and 9 in the morning than you guys.
On AM 560, The Answer.
Hi, I'm Ken Mariotti, owner of Woodland Windows and Doors, a third-generation family-owned business since 1969. We know you're bombarded by choices when shopping for new windows or doors, so we're inviting you to experience the Woodland difference. For decades, we have been transforming living spaces with Marvin Windows, a fifth-generation family business. Marvin replacement windows have been known to increase the warmth of your cold rooms by 10 degrees. Think about that, 10 degrees warmer. When you welcome Woodland into your home, you will get a product expert to transform your living spaces, full-time, dedicated professional installers that you can trust in your home, along with the best products like Marvin. These are the reasons we're proud of our 5-star reviews and family legacy. No gimmicks, no pressure, and upfront pricing are why Woodland Windows and Doors is your trusted window and door expert in Chicagoland. Visit woodlandwindows.com to book your free in-home expert consultation. That's woodlandwindows.com, or stop by our showroom at the corner of Lake and Geary in Roselle.
I'm attorney Stephen Leahy. You probably know I help business owners fight back against the IRS, but did you know I can help with state taxes too? Right now, Illinois is about to open a rare tax amnesty program. For a short window of time, you can pay certain back taxes and have the state wipe out the penalties and interest, no strings attached. But here's the thing. Once that window closes, the chance to save is gone. The Illinois Department of Revenue will announce the exact start date and requirements any day now. When they do, the clock will start ticking. Go to fightbacknow.com and sign up for my daily email. I'll give you clear updates the moment news breaks, walk you through exactly what you need to do, and help you avoid mistakes that can cost you thousands. Don't get caught off guard. When the state offers a deal like this, you have to move quickly. Go now to fightbacknow.com and get on the list, because when the clock runs out, so does your opportunity to wipe out those extra charges and save big. That's fightbacknow.com.
Hey, it's Mike Rowe, and if you want to do business with a company that actually stands for something, switch to Pure Talk. I did. Sure, I appreciate being on America's most dependable 5G network with unlimited talk and text for just $20 a month. But what I really appreciate is Pure Talk's commitment to our military and to our skilled workforce. That matters to me. Save 50% off your first month when you dial pound 250 and say keyword Mike Rowe. Pure Talk, a wireless company that actually stands for something.
This is Joe Cordell of Cordell & Cordell. Cordell & Cordell is the largest family law firm in the country with over 35 years of helping clients navigate divorce. That does give us certain advantages, for example, in experience and resources. But being big doesn't mean less personal or less local. Our attorneys live and work in your community, and as neighbors, they understand the challenges your families face. If you're a guy facing divorce, remember, Cordell & Cordell, a partner you can count on.
105 West Vandalia Street, Edwardsville. CordellCordell.com.
You know what really keeps me up at night? It's the criminals feel more and more bold. They have no fear of any consequences because there are none. So I did what anyone with a family should do. I called Goldilocks. They're not just some cookie-cutter security company. Goldilocks has been protecting Chicagoland homes and businesses for 4 decades, 40 years. And they actually listen. Their technician comes out to the house. He takes a look at what you need to make your house a smart home with a security system you can monitor from anywhere. It's built specifically for me and my family. Motion sensors, smart locks, cameras, monitoring, all customized. I don't trust anybody in Illinois to protect my family. I do it, and I did it by calling Goldilocks. I trust Goldilocks to keep my house, my property, and my family safe. Tell them Sean Thompson sent you, and Goldilocks will include 3 months free monitoring with any new installation. Call Goldilocks at 708-899-5600. That's 708-899-5600. Or visit them online at GoldilocksInc.com.
AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. The fallacy of objective journalism. And also the problem of being siloed, only consuming content from outlets that are inclined to share your sort of worldview. Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. Abrego Garcia, the Abrego Garcia story that we talked about a bit earlier. How NPR covered the story versus how Byron York at the Washington Examiner covered it. First, listen to NPR, and then I'll read you a couple of the first couple graphs from Byron York's coverage.
The future of Kilmar Abrego Garcia is uncertain at this hour. The Maryland man was wrongfully deported by the Trump administration to El Salvador back in March. He later returned to the U.S., and just this morning, he was taken into custody during an immigration check-in. Now, the U.S. government is trying to deport him to Uganda, something that his attorneys are calling a, quote, vindictive act of retribution. NPR's Sergio Martinez Beltran has been following this long-running case and joins us now. Hi, Sergio.
Hey, Elsa.
Okay, just first remind us, why is this case involving Abrego Garcia especially important at this moment?
Yeah, at the core of this case are questions about due process under President Trump's ongoing crackdown on undocumented immigrants. Mm-hmm. Abrego Garcia came from El Salvador to the U.S. illegally in 2011 when he was 16. He alleges he was escaping gang death threats there. He has not been convicted of any crimes. But Abrego Garcia was arrested during a traffic stop in Maryland in March and 3 days later was sent to a notorious prison in El Salvador. And that is despite a 2019 immigration court ruling barring his deportation there, his home country, because of what the judge called well-founded fear of gang persecution. Now, the Trump administration admitted that Abrego Garcia's removal was an administrative error. He was brought back to the U.S. in June to face new unrelated charges of human smuggling. He has pleaded not guilty to those charges and was released from federal custody on Friday, pending the criminal trial. That same day, he received a notice from ICE indicating he was going to be detained again.
Right. And today he presented himself to a mandatory ICE check-in and was, I understand, immediately taken back into immigration custody. Can we just listen to his lawyer here? This is Simon Sandoval Moschenberg speaking earlier today.
The only reason that they've chosen to take him into detention is to punish him. To punish him for exercising his constitutional rights. His constitutional right to fight back against being illegally deported to El Salvador.
Okay, Sergio, is he likely to be sent out of the country again?
So, Elsa, based on a prior court order, the earliest he could be removed is on Wednesday. Okay. But earlier today, Abrego Garcia's lawyers were in court arguing to postpone that date while they fight the detention and deportation efforts. And the federal judge in Maryland, in the Maryland hearing, the challenge said she is inclined to push that date, meaning she is expected to halt Abrego Garcia's deportation until at least this Friday. She also ordered Abrego Garcia not to be moved from the Virginia Detention Center where he's now being held. And she has asked for another hearing on Friday.
Okay. Well, I saw that Abrego Garcia talked to reporters earlier today as he was preparing to enter his check-in with ICE in Baltimore. What did he say exactly?
Yeah, I mean, he was received by a big group of supporters who were rallying for him outside the Baltimore ICE building. There, he said, spending the last few days with his family gave him hope.
A toda la familia también que han sufrido separaciones.
To all the families who have also suffered separations or who live under the constant threat of being separated, Abrego Garcia said, I want to tell you that even though this injustice is hurting us hard, we must not lose hope. He said this while flanked by his wife.
Mm-hmm. Okay. That's NPR's version. Byron York. Consider two recent stories about illegal immigration. The first is the continuing saga of Kilmar Abrego Garcia, the Salvadorian who illegally crossed the border and is charged with human smuggling in Tennessee, who's been credibly accused of membership in the violent transnational gang MS-13, and whose wife filed a domestic violence complaint seeking protection against him. The latest news, the United States authorities offered Abrego Garcia a deal regarding the human smuggling charge, plead guilty, and be deported to Costa Rica after serving his sentence. There, authorities said he could live as a legal resident in a Spanish-speaking country that is regarded as the safest in Latin America, as the Washington Post put it. If Abrego Garcia refused the deal, authorities said he would be deported anyway to Uganda, which recently agreed to accept some deported migrants from the United States. Abrego Garcia's lawyers noted that Uganda is halfway across the world and said his safety and liberty would be under threat there. Same story. Reported similarly. The facts contained in Byron York's more succinct report, did you hear any of those? The deal that was on the table, the charges against him, the domestic complaint that filed by his wife. Did you hear any of that in the NPR coverage? So you see, if you just consume content from one source, you don't do a little compare and contrasting. You don't think a little bit about what you're consuming, how you can be led down primrose paths to believe incredibly silly things like Abrego Garcia is like a modern day Cesar Chavez or something fighting for immigrants' rights, as opposed to some goon who came here illegally from El Salvador. I just thought that was a telling side by side. Coming up at 8:38, we'll turn our attention to matters involving the Fed, the at least attempted dismissal of a Fed governor amid allegations of mortgage fraud, as well as the pronouncements from Fed Chairman Jay Powell over the weekend in Jackson Hole. We'll discuss with Alex Pollack from the Mises Institute at 8:38. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It's 60 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. A new executive order signed by President Trump will establish specialized units in the National Guard.
The Defense Department is now under orders to create guard units specifically trained to tame civil unrest. Monday's order comes as the president considers deploying guard troops to cities like Chicago and Baltimore as part of a crackdown on crime. President Trump declared an emergency in Washington and used his authority to take over the police there temporarily. Some local leaders are pushing back, saying the president doesn't have the same authority in their communities. I'm Rory O'Neill.
A man is facing charges after burning an American flag near the White House.
The move comes as the United States has sent warships to the region in an operation against drug cartels. The Trump administration has accused Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro of working with the cartels and has issued a $50 million reward for Maduro's capture. Maduro is accusing the U.S. of pushing for regime change and singled out Secretary of State Marco Rubio, accusing him of madness and extremism. I'm Michael Kastner.
News is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Have you been getting high quotes for dental implants? With medical PPO insurance, it's possible to save 90% off on average. See if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Making smiles great again. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Hugh Hewitt sees their true colors.
I think this Texas story is so indicative of the dire straits in which Democrats have fallen. I hope the voters in Texas remember when you need them the most, Democrats will run away. That's what happened in North Carolina, by the way, in the floods under Joe Biden. That's what happened in Ohio and East Palestine. That's what happens whenever disasters happen and Democrats are in charge. They run away.
The Hugh Hewitt Show. Afternoons at 2, right before Sean Thompson at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
$5,000. That's the average amount of money people in the U.S. are now spending on gas in a year. $5,000. That's crazy. If you drive, you have to download Upside, the free app that gives you cash back every time you get gas. That's right. You can earn real cash back with Upside just by buying the gas you're already buying. You can literally start earning cash back today.
I use Upside every time I fill up, and I've already made around $300.
You're putting gas in your car anyway. Why not get real cash back? If you like free money, download Upside.
I'm saving the cash I earn from using Upside to help pay for a vacation later this year.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code WEALTH25 to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code WEALTH25 for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code WEALTH25 for a 25 cents per gallon bonus.
A large retail store just canceled a huge order, leaving MyPillow with a ton of extra MyPillows. But you know what? That's their loss and your gain. MyPillow is offering the Classic Collection for wholesale prices. Only $19.98 for a standard MyPillow. But it gets even better. For a limited time, they're going to offer the entire Classic Collection at wholesale prices. Get queen-size MyPillows for just $24.98. Upgrade to king-size for only $29.98. Get the body pillows for $39.98. And the multi-use MyPillows for only $12.98. So go to MyPillow.com and use promo code LIBERTY or call 800-489-0201 to take advantage of wholesale pricing and receive $100 in free digital gifts when your order is $75 or more. That's right. Get the standard MyPillow for only $19.98. So go to MyPillow.com or call 800-489-0201 and use promo code LIBERTY. That number again is 800-489-0201. Promo code LIBERTY.
This hourly segment is brought to you by the Alpha Wealth Group, bringing the trilogy of estate, tax, and investment planning together. Visit alphawealthgroup.com for a free report.
From the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 19 minutes, outbound 25 minutes. On the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Burn Interchange, 35 minutes, outbound about 27 minutes. On the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 60 minutes, outbound 37 minutes. On the Stevenson inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, 51 minutes, outbound 32 minutes. This report is sponsored by Audible. Stuck in traffic? Audible's romance collection will have you falling fast in the slow lane. Satisfy every side of you with best-selling modern rom-coms, the hottest romantasy series, and anticipated new releases. Start listening free when you sign up for a 30-day trial at audible.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now I check your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will be mostly sunny and pleasant with a high of 74. Tonight, expect clear skies and cooler temperatures with a low of 54. Tomorrow will bring sunshine with some high clouds, remaining pleasant with a high of 78. Thursday, we'll see a mix of clouds and sun with a chance of a couple of thunder showers in the early afternoon and a high of 73. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here, and over the weekend, Jay Powell was in Jackson Hole auditioning for his job after he's done being Fed governor. You know, don't forget, a banker friend of mine made this point to me, and I think it's a salient one. Don't forget in terms of whether or not Powell will, act in furtherance of some of the short-term policies that politicians, including Trump, wanted, just like he did the previous administration. Don't forget that, these guys are probably, especially in Jay Powell's position, because I don't think he's extraordinarily wealthy, they're looking for their next gig on Wall Street after they get done being Fed governor, and they want to maintain relationships so that a big bank will put their name on a door and pay them a lot of money to, host lunches and give speeches and whatnot. So never lose, the idea that all these people in positions of authority in government have an eye towards being a lobbyist. That's an obvious one, but an eye towards, the next thing, their speakers' fees, the boards they want to sit on, the gigs they want coming out of their positions in their particular sector of alleged expertise. And Jay Powell is no exception, I suspect. So it wasn't surprising to hear him say, essentially, if you can pierce the economic ease, that, rate cut is in the offing, probably next month. Take a listen.
Of course, we cannot take the stability of inflation expectations for granted. Come what may, we will not allow a one-time increase in the price level to become an ongoing inflation problem. So, putting the pieces together, what are the implications for monetary policy? In the near term, risks to inflation are tilted to the upside and risks to employment to the downside, a challenging situation. When our goals are in tension like this, our framework calls for us to balance both sides of our dual mandate. Our policy rate is now 100 basis points closer to neutral than it was a year ago, and the stability of the unemployment rate and other labor market measures allows us to proceed carefully as we consider changes to our policy stance. Nonetheless, with policy in restrictive territory, the baseline outlook and the shifting balance of risks may warrant adjusting our policy stance.
May warrant adjusting our policy stance. That means a rate cut, if I could translate it for you. For more on this and other matters, economic, Alex Pollock joins us, senior fellow at the Mises Institute. He served as the principal deputy director of the Office of Financial Research in the Treasury Department as well. Alex, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Great to be with you, Dan. Thanks for having me.
Did I have that translation right, that he's adjustments in our policy stance may be considered? That's sort of telegraphing a rate cut?
It sounds like it. The stock market certainly thought so with the big rally it had immediately upon hearing it. And as always, as Jay Powell himself has honestly and very impressively said, they don't really know what's right. He's got himself all hedged around with maybe this, maybe that, because they really don't know, and moreover can't know. But that was set up for a rate cut. You'd have to say all the careful hedged language notwithstanding, and as we say, it's certainly how the financial markets took it. The underlying problem is that we set up this idea that somehow there's going to be a committee in Washington, that there's going to be a national price-fixing committee, which is ridiculous on the face of it, for interest rates, and they're somehow going to know what the right interest rate is. Well, they don't know, and they can't know. All they can do is guess like the rest of us. And as you say, the Fed is always embedded in a matrix of politics. That had to be the case and always has has been the case, and that's part of what they have to navigate. And they are part of the government and in the government, and we shouldn't expect anything other than that, and we should not expect them to be some kind of omniscient, over the fray, godlike entity looking down on things with objective truth. Nothing could be further from the truth.
Yeah, right. They're right above. Yes, above the fray. These are just policy wonks. These are the soothsayers and the mystics that we go to on the Mount.
The philosopher king. As a feature of themselves. They are not that, and they can't be that, and nobody can be that. And we ought to be realistic about that. The great economist, philosopher Friedrich Hayek, Nobel Prize winner in economics, talked about the pretense of knowledge that central banks display, and that's what we always see: a pretense of knowledge that's not really there. But one of the things,
the fatal conceit, if you will, yes.
Fatal conceit, that's his other great phrase. Yeah, a truly deep and wonderful thinker, Hayek. The fatal conceit, the pretense of knowledge. I always, I wrote a little piece a few years ago called "Pity the Poor Members of the Federal Open Market Committee." They, in their heart of hearts, they must know that they don't really know what to do, but they're forced in the public eye to go through this show, and the show must go on.
Yeah,
and they have to pretend to know that they know what they're doing.
And so a 25 basis point rate cut next month will keep the plate spinning and everybody content. So that there's there's short term a short term calming impact, even if in the medium or the long term everybody's going to go over the cliff together.
Could be, and we don't know that, but there always risks. We do know that you want the central bank in a better world to always be trying to guard the purchasing value of the currency, and they always have a tremendous political temptation to go along with an inflationist policy. And that's just a natural part of it that needs to be guarded against as well as we can. But we know that all paper currencies tend to depreciate over time, and the Fed's actual promise, which is outrageous in my opinion, is they promise to depreciate the currency forever at 2% per year. Mm-hmm. And then they say, well, we don't have enough inflation. We don't have enough inflation. You have to get it up to 2%. A much better policy would be that of the Swiss central bank, which I think Switzerland has among all the fiat currencies, the best fiat currency in the world. Of course, it's a small country, but in a better shape. And their target is maximum 2%. That's a ceiling, and you can be someplace presumably on their scale underneath that, and you would like to be. So how we got ourselves into promising to have inflation forever is a fascinating story in and of itself. But the Fed didn't even, in this great review they had of their so-called framework or their fundamental theory, as Powell also said in this speech, in addition to dangling this decrease in short-term rates in front of the market, which the market loved on a short-term basis, said they didn't even consider their commitment to 2% inflation forever, which seems to me the really responsible thing would have been to take another look at that and say, can that make sense? In my opinion, it doesn't.
On the sort of political melodrama front, the effort by President Trump to dismiss Fed Governor Lisa Cook, a Biden appointee, over a criminal referral that has been made against her for mortgage fraud, which basically, by the way, I mean, what Pulte had to say about what she did and the evidence they apparently have as the basis of this criminal referral, it does sound fairly problematic for her. But now we're going to get into whether or not this constitutes termination for cause, which is within the president's purview, but you can't terminate for policy disagreements. And this, I'm sure this will be before a federal judge before we know it. But anyway, the back and forth about terminating this particular governor, about trying to clip Jay Powell before his term is up next year. Your reaction to that?
My reaction to that is that the constitutional framework for the Federal Reserve is very clear. The Federal Reserve does not report to the president, should never report to the president, but it also should not be independent. That's ridiculous. You can't have a piece of the government that's an autonomous piece running all around. Mm-hmm. The boss of the Fed is the Congress. The Congress has the monetary policy. Now, the underlying sense for that is this, that the executive, which includes the Treasury, but has two key parts in the executive, the war and financing, the Department of Defense and the Department of the Treasury, the two biggest functions. Anyway, the Treasury is the borrower. The Treasury always wants to be able to borrow more money to carry out the programs of the president and give supporters money and make people happy. Well, the Fed is the lender. It's a bank. You can't have, just in fundamental logic, you can't have the lender reporting to the borrower. Just think about that.
Yeah.
That's silly. The lender has to report to the Congress as a matter of fundamental checks and balances of our constitutional scheme. So it would be nice if we could get that straight. But of course, it's natural, and it's a theme frequent in American history. Of course, the president wants to run the Fed. You don't get to be president if you don't have a strong will to power. So they want to include the Fed in that, but they shouldn't be allowed to. As far as Lisa Cook, I don't know what the facts are, but one could argue if it be true that she claimed two different places as principal residences at the same time, which can't be. I would say that would be a reason why one might wish to resign if you got caught doing that. But I don't think I don't think it should be made a part of a presidential running of the Fed because, as I said, the Fed should be run by the Congress.
Alex Pollock, Senior Fellow at the Mises Institute, served as the Principal Deputy Director of the Office of Financial Research in the Treasury Department as well. Alex, thanks again for joining us. Appreciate it.
Dan, it's always a pleasure. All the best.
You too. And Alex Pollock joined us on the Turnkey.Pro answer line.
Before you see it on TV, share it on Facebook, or read about it in the paper, hear it here first. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
The IRS finally caught up with Louie.
I hadn't paid my taxes in 8 years. I owed the IRS a lot of money.
Louie was in deep trouble.
We're going to take your house, put a lien on your bank account, garnish your pay. They don't care. They're going to take your paycheck.
Louie found out about Optima Tax Relief, the leading tax resolution firm. A-plus rated by the Better Business Bureau, they've resolved over $1 billion for their clients.
Optima Tax, they help me. They calm me down. They make me feel comfortable, and I trust them.
Louie has a lot to be thankful for.
I don't owe the IRS anymore, and I'm able to live a comfortable life, a lot better life. It was because of Optima Tax.
For tax help you can trust, call Optima now for a free consultation. Take it from Louie.
If you owe the IRS, don't go it alone. Give Optima Tax a call. They can help you.
Call 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433.
Optima Tax Relief.
Testimonial from an actual client. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Making the switch to a new IT services and support company may seem like a big ordeal, but if you're not getting the reliable support, consistent internet, and secure solutions your company needs every working day, meet Access One, your local Chicagoland IT experts and proud new sponsor of Chicago's Morning Answer. These are the guys you want to talk to. Access One has been powering Chicago businesses with secure, reliable IT solutions for more than 30 years. From their headquarters in the West Loop, local and in tune with Chicago businesses is Access One. Whether it's voice over IP phones, dedicated internet, managed cybersecurity, cloud backups, or 24/7 support, Access One is here for you and your business. They serve thousands of companies from Naperville to the North Shore. Access One is Chicago-owned and Chicago-run, a trusted IT partner for law firms, clinics, tech startups, and manufacturers. They will make the switch for you easier than you think. So call them today to discuss your business needs and tell them I sent you when you do. That number, 1-800-804-8333. Again, that number, 1-800-804-8333. Or visit them online at accessoneinc.com. That website, Access1, O-N-E, accessoneinc.com. Access One, tech made personal, locally.
This is Albert Mohler for townhall.com. Send Harvard's Chinese students home? That's the title of the recent piece at the Wall Street Journal. It ought to have our attention. It comes from Mike Gallagher, former member of Congress and now Chief of Defense for Palantir Technologies. He writes out of a sense of concern for America's national defense. He writes this, quote, President Trump began his second term by picking a fight with an unaccountable leftist dictatorship that is hostile to American values, accustomed to taking advantage of American wealth, is actively abetting genocide in Xinjiang, he says, end quote. He goes on to say, quote, I refer, of course, to Harvard. He goes on to talk about Trump, who, and I now quote, has an uncanny knack for exposing rotten shibboleths, and recent years have seen top universities unmasked as global far-left patronage networks using research as a smokescreen to prevent scrutiny of campus hate as they aid adversaries like China, end quote. Strong words. Words we should consider and heed. I'm Albert Mohler.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, I promised this on Friday, and we didn't get to it, so we're going to get to it right here. Frank Caprio, the retired Providence Municipal Court judge who recently passed away at the age of 88 from pancreatic cancer, but just built this reputation in part because of videos of him presiding in court online that show him adjudicating cases with wit and wisdom and real concern for people. And this is the running red light ticket that this guy got. And the guy came to court with his young son, Giovanni, and it went like this.
Good evening, Jason.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
How are you, young man?
Good, Your Honor.
What is your name?
Giovanni?
Giovanni?
Yes.
Get up here, Giovanni. You want to help me out with this case?
Yes.
You promise to be honest?
Yes.
Who's this? This your dad?
Yes.
Okay. Now, you're not going to give your dad any favoritism, are you?
No.
Okay, so we're going to take a look at a video, and we're going to decide whether or not he went through a red light, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, you're not going to look at him. You're going to look just at the video, and then you and I are going to make a decision, okay?
Okay.
All right, let's go. Okay, here's your dad. And the light was red. Did you see that?
Yes.
And did you see the sign?
Yes.
What does the sign say? Can you read it? Right on red.
Right on red.
After stop.
After stop.
So that means if the light is red, you must first stop and then make a right-hand turn, okay?
Yes.
So we're going to look at it again, and we're going to see if he stopped before he made a right-hand turn. All right, here he comes now. Did he stop?
Yes, Your Honor.
He stopped?
Obviously did not. Even he's
We're going to do this
laughing.
again. We're going to look at it and to see if he stopped or not, okay?
Okay.
All right, let's go.
No.
He didn't stop.
No.
Is he guilty?
No.
No. If he did not stop, right, then you still think he's not guilty?
No.
Is he guilty or not guilty?
No. He's not guilty.
He's not guilty.
No.
No. He's just deflating me. He's beating me down here. I'm like a puddle of water on the bench here, right? Okay, I know. I'm not sure you really understand the question as I'm asking it, but you watched the video and the light was red and your dad made a right-hand turn, right?
Yes.
Okay. So should we fine him the $85 or not?
No.
Why not?
Because he's not guilty.
This is like a Johnny Carson bit, really.
Well, we're going to look at it once more. Okay?
Okay.
All right, now let's go. The light is red. Do you see that?
Yes.
Did he stop?
No.
Was he supposed to stop?
Yes.
And he did not stop?
No.
Okay. Is he guilty or not guilty?
Not guilty.
Get down there with your dad. Inspector Carrigan.
Rarely do you hear applause from the audience in traffic court. Quite a performance, made it entertaining. And I think Giovanni's performance ended up saving his dad like half the cost of the ticket, $50 or something. All right. Good stuff. It is now 9 a.m., AM 560, WIND, Chicago.
Progress reports.